Are we? Are we?
Yes, sir.
So good morning, all of you, to this important webinar today being jointly organized by CroftLife and FICCI. And I welcome Mr. Sameer Kumar Vishwas, Additional Secretary in Department of Chemicals and Petrochemical, for this important webinar, the importance of safety in manufacturing Indian crop protection industry, operation and execution of production, change management. As you are aware that crop protection chemicals are important agriculture support, which boost agriculture yield by controlling the pest and disease in the farmland. Although crop protection chemicals are developed through very strict regulation process to function with reasonable certainty and minimum impact on human health and environment. However, unfortunately, India has witnessed several catastrophic chemical accidents, mainly attributed to lack of proper safety measure, improper handling of process changes in the factories, and poor implementation of safety standards. So, on the request of the industry, we are organizing this important seminar at this important junction where the government is giving a lot of importance to the sector. With this, I'll introduce today's moderator, although he doesn't need any introduction. Today's moderator is Asitava Sen. He is the CEO of CropLife India. Prior to CropLife India, Asitava had worked in leadership and senior advisory position for various influential international and multinational organizations such as World Bank, International Finance Corporation, the World Economic Forum, FAO, Robobank, Price, PwC, APCO Worldwide, Nelson Company, to name a few. With this, now I hand over this to Asitava Sen. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Manoj, and very warm good morning to all of you, all speakers, panelists, and participants. As Manoj has said, this is a joint initiative between CropLife India and FICCI. And for those who might have been joining for the first time, CropLife is an industry association of 15 leading science and R&D-based agrochemical or crop protection companies. Catering to almost 70% of the market of crop protection in India. And also it's part of a global network of CropLife International, which is a parent organization, which is present in 91 countries. And CropLife does a lot of work in policy advocacy and promoting safe and judicious use and introduction of precision agriculture and new technology for benefit of Indian farmers and farmers globally. And we also have, I'm very happy to have FICCI as our partner for this event. FICCI needs no introduction. It's one of the premier industry associations in India, and particularly, their agrochemical committee, which has over 60 or 70 members currently, are partnering with us in hosting this particular event. And as Manoj has said, today's focus is essentially to discuss the opportunities and challenges and importance of safety in manufacturing for Indian crop protection industry, with a specific focus on operation and execution of production change management. And as we all know, Indian agrochemical industry is the third largest in the world and is a net foreign exchange earner. Currently, the industry is worth 50,000 crores Indian rupees, of which it's almost a 45-55 split between domestic and export market. And this 50,000 crore is likely to grow to 80,000 crores by 2026. And export is going to be over 60% of that 80,000 crores in 2026. So rightfully, agrochemical has been identified as one of the champion sectors by the government of India, which means that it has a huge potential to become a major, India can become a major global hub for production and supply of agrochemical throughout the world. So in that context, it is very important that we focus on safety across the value chain and particularly on manufacturing, as we are focusing on today. And as Manoj already said, agrochemical is a well-regulated industry. There is a very robust system and process in place to regulate reasonable certainty and minimizing adverse impact on human and environment through the whole process. And most of the responsible industry which is present today adopts already best-in-class measures and compliance with very high standards to ensure health, safety, and well-being of all stakeholders, including their employees and other stakeholders. And in spite of that, we have had some incidents recently, and in many cases, potential reasons could have been poor implementation of standards or improper handling of process changes and so on and so forth. And today we are very proud to have a galaxy of both international and Indian subject matter experts on the subject of HSE, health, safety, and environment, as we call it. We'll be speaking both on the current and future scenarios and best practices in manufacturing safety. And broadly, the session today is divided into three. One is the inaugural session, which I am moderating, and we are very grateful to have Mr. Samir Kumar Biswas, the Honorable Additional Secretary for Department of Chemical and Petrochemical Vikas, and others. Then we have the first panel discussion, which focuses on risk awareness, safety takeaways, and pathways to overcome industrial challenges, essentially talking about the current situation and learning from different incidences, covering issues such as policy impact, improvement in current operational practices and resources, and managing the internal and external environment. And then we have a second panel discussion, which essentially focuses on potential strategies for way forward. So it talks more about what are the possibilities of improving the situation going forward, what are the new technologies which are coming up. And this session will cover issues like process safety, role of leadership, culture, and also the evolving role of HSE professionals for betterment of the sector. So my humble request to all speakers for all these three sessions to please kindly stick to the time allotted so that we can conduct the webinar in a timely and efficient and fruitful manner. And with this, I will invite Dr. KC Ravi, who's the chairman of CropLife India and also head of sustainability and CSR in Syngenta India. He has a lot of long years of experience in industry as well as industry association in public affairs and government policy. So I welcome Dr. KC Ravi. Ravi, you have 5 minutes to talk about, to basically give the welcome address. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Asitava. Good morning and a very warm welcome to all the participants to this webinar on the importance of safety in manufacturing Indian crop protection industry, operation and execution of production change management. We all have come to realize the importance of safety in these COVID times. I'm indeed very happy that our industry has not only been ensuring the safety of their employees, but also extending, more importantly, all the support to the farming communities. I would like to stress on the importance of continuing with these efforts and to partner with the government in the fight against COVID. We would like to commend the central government and the entire state government machinery in all the states for the diligent efforts being taken to address the current outbreak, to support whether in terms of undertaking awareness campaigns or helping rural communities in tackling the situation. At the outset, let me express my gratitude to our chief guest, Sri Samir Kumar Biswas, Additional Secretary Chemicals, Department of Chemicals and Petrochemicals, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizer, for attending this event despite his hectic schedule. I would also like to welcome and thank Sri R.G. Agarwal ji, Chairman FICCI Crop Protection Committee and Group Chairman Dhanuka Agritech Limited. As we all understand, the Indian agrochemical industry is poised towards an exponential growth. We must factor in the diligent process of safety involved in its various stages of manufacturing. The operation and execution of production change management will be an imminent facet involved to safeguard the interests of the entire industry. Today's webinar is a stepping stone in that direction of bringing together all stakeholders on the topic. We have a great mix of speakers covering all relevant stakeholders: Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, National Safety Council of India, agrochemical companies, both at an Indian and a global level, along with CropLife Asia, who has been instrumental in doing a similar exercise in China. Special thanks to the esteemed speakers who have spared their valuable time and going to share their perspectives in the subsequent sessions. We are today discussing a very important topic, and I'm very happy to mention in this August gathering that responsible manufacturing of crop protection products is an integral part of our industry's DNA, as outlined by Asitawa in his introductory remarks. Right from discovery to disposal, we are committed to safe and sustainable practices. We work with the objective to protect both our employees and the environment to the fullest extent possible. Our industry, from which much of the modern plant science industry evolved, has always had a good safety record. We comply with all the regulatory standards, but the industry commonly takes its responsibilities further and take part in voluntary initiatives also. I'm also happy to highlight that in addition to ensuring the safety of employees, significant improvements have been made in reduction of waste streams and carbon dioxide emissions. When we talk of responsible manufacturing management system, that can be anywhere across the segments like plant and process safety, pollution prevention, employee health and safety, emergency response, and community awareness, security, product stewardship, quality management, contamination prevention, risk assessment, reporting and auditing, and so on. And the companies are tirelessly working towards achieving 100% output on all the above. Steady progress has been made in terms of manufacturing efficiency and reduction of environmental impact. We have experts present here to elaborate and brainstorm on the thematic webinar today, and needless to mention, there would be a lot of takeaways for us to carry at the end of the day after hearing all our experts. On behalf of both the organizers, I once again welcome all participants. We hope these deliberations will not only help in learning but about the latest developments by also sharing best practices and learnings. I would now request Asitawa Sen to kindly moderate the inaugural session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi, for that very well-covered welcome address. I will now call upon for the keynote address, Mr. R.G. Agarwal. Mr. Agarwal needs no introduction. He is the chairman of FICCI's Crop Protection Committee and also the group chairman of Dhanuka Agritech. And he has built this industry and his company from scratch. And he is one of the most passionate advocates of well-being of the stakeholders that this industry addresses, particularly the farmers. So Agarwalji, welcome. You please deliver the keynote address, and you have 10 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Asitwa. Good morning, all the friends. And before I start, first of all, I like to salute our farmers and our Corona warriors. Due to them, we are getting our food and safety of the health. And our industry role, I don't think it is to be explained, but when I talk, I don't talk autonomous. I am calling a doha which we studied from Kavi Jayasi regarding our industry. Sat sayya ke dohre jo navik ke teer देखन में छोटे लगे भाव करे गंभीर. Meaning our industry is very small, but its impact one can realize from the Bengal famine known as India in 1942, when millions of people died from hunger as all the paddy fields were spoiled, deteriorated, finished with a disease called as leaf spot. And only after that scientific community started research in this direction. We should appreciate the companies internationally and the scientists who took initiative and research various pesticides. Unfortunately, in our country, in pesticide sector, no original research is there, and whatever technology has come, it has come which was innovated internationally. Once their patent expired, only then they came. Till 2005, we were not member of WTO, we were not signatory. So we were not accepting patent, and in our country with improved process, products like cypermethrin, phenolate, and so many were manufactured in India. In 2005, regarding patent, it was very clear. Before I come to safety, I like to see the confusion regarding TRIPS 39.3 and the Satwant Reddy Committee under Ministry of Chemical Fertilizer was constituted in 2007 to clarify this section 39.3 of TRIPS. I will request our friend and very intelligent man, Mr. Samir Vishwas, as Madam Satwant Reddy Committee was under Ministry of Chemical Fertilizer in 2007, and where scientists like Dr. Machelkar, very, very senior people participated in that 2007 meeting. And that committee deliberated on all the parameters regarding new products, impact of new products, impacts of generic products. So I don't want to go much in it, but we request that the confusion in spite of clarification is created. Our ministry has always supported us, and we hope under Additional Secretary Samir Vishwas will go on getting this support. Now I come safety. On road you see, सावधानी हटे और दुर्घटना घटी. Means any accident happens, maybe in factories or maybe road or anywhere. It is due to some negligence, mistake, as there is some reason is there. I'm not a technical person, so I cannot throw much light. But now there are a lot of new technologies has come. Computerized system and controls has come. I like to share that when we started our first international relation with DuPont, and we established a formulation factory for their methomyl. So before the establishing factory, our team visited their formulation plant internationally. And once we established the plant, then DuPont safety team came to inspect the plant. And there was ramp, and they said, here you need zebra crossing lines. They were so particular about safety. So I appreciate. After taking our orchid on 1st April 2020, I visited that plant last week only. And I was pleased to know that their 3-year safety program from DuPont was run for all the factory safety measures. So there is no substitute for safety, and safety is needed everywhere, maybe chemical, petrochemical, and pesticides, because most of them are having similar synthesis process, and all are petrochemicals which are inflammable. Unfortunately, in our country, our workers, in spite of lot of training, they do negligence. You don't permit their BD cigarette matchbox. They bring it in their tiffin box. So our security people has started even now looking for tiffin box also. What to do? Until our culture and nature towards safety changes, we drive vehicles after drinking. In most of the accident cases, the reason comes people intentionally compromising with the safety. I don't say in our factory anybody will be compromising, because all are leading international and national companies, reputed companies, and they have all the parameters of safety. But in spite of that, sometimes accidents happens. And we have experts, and in our country we need, in my opinion, more experts in this sector. And government should consider about a training institute or something, how we can focus in chemical plants on safety. What are the various parameters? Although government has got the various laws which are followed by us, but safety is a very, very important issue. So how we can give more attention, which experts will discuss. I cannot comment much on that as a commercial man, but I will say skill development and training. There cannot be any substitute for these two things. And today in management, latest technologies are coming. Automation is coming. And how we handle them, how we manage them, how we automate our plants. So that is going to be very, very important for all of us. And my time is going to be over of 10 minutes. So before closing, I would like to thank FICCI and CLI, and especially Mr. Samir Kumar Vishwas for sparing time, and experts from India and abroad for sparing their time to participate in this important event. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, my connection suddenly got lost, and my apologies. Thank you, Agarwal ji. Now, may I invite Sri Shamir Kumar Biswas ji, who's the chief guest, and he is the additional secretary in the Department of Chemical and Petrochemical. He is a IAS officer from Maharashtra cadre, and he's also currently holding the additional role of Director General for CPET, and he has over 30 years of experience in both the state and the center in various capacities, and is a strong champion for public policy, particularly concerning chemical and petrochemical industry at this juncture. Thank you, Biswas ji, for sparing your valuable time, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Asitawa ji. Very good morning to Mr. R.G. Agarwal, Chairman, Crop Production Committee of FICCI, all the distinguished leaders from the industry, all the members from the industry associations who are actively participating in this conference, and ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I would really like to thank FICCI and CropLife India for organizing this very important conference come workshop, which basically highlights the importance of safety in manufacturing, specifically with a special focus on the crop protection chemical manufacturing. As it is said, I mean, in the last about an year or so, we have been seeing the developments in the industry in terms of safety and hazard and other environmental aspects, how it is really developing and evolving, what are the challenges that are coming out. We have seen in last about 1 year, good number of accidents taking place all across the country. And unfortunately, most of them took place in kind of pesticide manufacturing units or pharmaceutical units, which are in the small or medium sector. That very clearly highlights that this particular segment of the industry needs to take much more care for complying with the safety aspects of the regulation and also impose some kind of self-regulatory mechanism to see that these accidents don't reoccur in the future. As far as diagnosis and post-mortem of these accidents are concerned, this must be done by the units themselves. Of course, regulatory process is there to analyze these accidents and come up with future measures to prevent and stop this kind of reoccurrences. Because accident is not a very, it is a very big loss on all fronts. Not only the topmost human lives are lost, it is a big loss to the environment as well. Of course, finally, the economic loss is too much. Loss to the entire national economy. So we must try to stop and prevent these accidents taking place at any cost. It could cost in terms of providing some preventive mechanism or systems or equipments. That cost is very nominal if we really compare with the cost that you have to pay if an accident unfortunately really takes place. So from that point of view, I really thank FICCI and CropLife that you have rightly at the right moment you have taken up this issue to highlight further and also come out with recommendations as to how to further streamline the regulatory regime, which will further focus on these aspects. As Agarwal Sahab said, that out of all the industry in the chemical and petrochemical segment, these crop production chemicals play a very important role. There is no doubt about it. Because on one side, it provides food to the people. And on the another side, it adds value to the economy. So looking at the double benefit of this particular segment, we must focus and emphasize to see that this particular segment grows on a sustainable basis to meet the food demand of the this burgeoning population, as well as see the job requirement of the people or the youth of the country is also met at the same time simultaneously. For that, many things needs to be done. That is a much bigger question. Today we are trying to focus only on the limited question of safety and security, and of course the health aspect is always there. It has been estimated that our pesticide industry today stands nearly about 50,000 crore Indian rupees, and it is about to grow to 80,000 crore Indian rupees by 2026. This is the potential this particular sector gives us for growth of not only this particular sector, but all the sectors. That being the potential, we really need to work towards that, remove bottlenecks, make ease of doing business much more improved in our country. and also certain regulatory measures to ensure that we don't compromise with the environment and health aspects of our nation. As you all know, I mean, pesticide industry is basically agrochemicals is one of the champion sectors. Why is it so? For a long time, it has been the net exporting segment along with the pharmaceuticals. Of course, pharmaceuticals have a much bigger share of Indian export. Pesticide is also not lagging behind much. It is a net exporting segment and there is further scope for further export. Because of our strength that we have really gained, the capacity that we have developed in the past, the ability to develop new and new products in pharmaceutical as well as in pesticides have really given us a great edge in the global market as well. Maybe we are falling short in inventing new molecules. Invention of new molecules may not be all that important, but how to use it, how to formulate it, how to make it more useful for the farmer, much more cheaper for the farmer, improve the environmental and health aspects of the formulation. Those are the areas where we have developed our capability to add much more value to the technicals. Technicals are basically, in a way, a bulk commodity, whereas the formulations are a specialty chemical, commanding and demanding a lot of premium, a lot of value to the customer. So with that capacity and strength developed by our country, we need to take it forward and provide all policy support, as Mr. R.J. Agarwal has said. So while doing so, we do have regulatory mechanism in the form of manufacturing, import of hazardous chemicals in place. That does provide for site safety aspects. Regular auditing is to be done, and also some kind of regulatory oversight has to be there with the competent authority. But at the same time, we must see that this regulatory process does not become a big hindrance for the industry to grow. So how do you really ensure that? For ensuring that, you have to see that we take all steps on our own without really looking for the regulatory officials coming and telling us that you are falling short here and there. We need to ourselves check all the compliances and ensure that all compliances are met 100%. That is basically sort of self-certification of compliance, in short. So I request all the units, all the associations to promote this idea that we must ensure that we do the self-certification of the compliance. Regulators are there, they will come and always visit, but we should not give them an opportunity to find out any lacuna or fault in our production process. We should be really going ahead of the regulatory requirements to meet with the environmental and safety norms. If we really do that, it is going to be beneficial not only for the units and the industry, it is going to be beneficial for the entire nation as well as the whole world. In addition to this aspect, another aspect automatically comes up, the question of sustainability. Now, sustainability has again taken much forward in the form of circular economy. Now, Government of India as a nation is putting a lot of focus on circular economy, which basically implies we must consume the minimum amount of resources and must not waste any resource. And whatever wastes are coming out, we must be able to circulate it and put it back into some kind of usable product, and don't throw anything in the environment which will cause environmental pollution and health hazard. So that is that being the concept of circular economy. It is also, in a way, helps us to save our valuable resources. So naturally, that adds to economic value addition of the entire economy. So with these two most important aspects, I think this conference is going to take us a long way for creating awareness amongst the unit, today which are not so much sincere and aware about these aspects, to make them aware and also handhold and support them for complying with the regulatory requirements, and also think, at least initiate thinking towards sustainability and circular economy. Of course, the units alone cannot do everything. They have to be supported, and handholding support has to be given by the associations, by the government, by everybody, all the stakeholders. So I wish this workshop and conference a great, grand success in terms of seeing very less number of accidents taking place in the coming year, and also making this word of circular economy and sustainability very common word, and everybody trying and vying to basically move towards that direction, getting a good reputation of this industry, being environment friendly, accident free, and really working for the national growth of the agriculture as well as large population of India. So with that, I again thank you very much for giving me this opportunity of talking to you. I wish you all the best for the day-long deliberation, and look forward to solid, good recommendations coming out from this conference, which will be really great help for the government to incorporate some kind of modifications in the regulation in the best interest of the nation. So thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, Biswas ji, for that excellent chief guest address and highlighting the role of industry and other stakeholders going forward. Thank you very much again. I would now call upon for the release of the FICCI compendium on COVID relief initiatives. I believe FICCI have done a compendium of what different companies and associations have done to support COVID relief efforts. So may I request the FICCI team to do the needful. Manoj, if he is not there, Rinki, you want to just say a few words?
We prepared this compendium on the behalf of the industry, and the entire activities done by the industry associations during this COVID period is being captured here. And this is a small glimpse, and we will be sharing a soft copy of the same with all of you.
Thank you very much, Rinki. It's a great initiative, and congratulations to all the companies who have done this effort. Thank you very much. You should all, I think, clap the effort. Thank you. May I now call upon Mr. Raju Kapoor to give the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. Everybody knows Mr. Kapoor. He's the Director of Public and Industry Affairs for FMC India. He has a long checkered career in agrochemical seeds and other agricultural industries and in various associations and organizations, multinational and local. So Raju, you have 5 minutes, please, for the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. We are more or less on time, just 3-4 minutes behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sitava. And are you able to hear me properly?
There is an echo, Raju.
I hear an echo back.
Yeah. Is there something?
Hello, is it okay now?
Yeah, it is now.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine. So thank you so much. This has been a fantastic session. I think we have woken up right in time, as Secretary Samir Biswas said. It's become a very crucial aspect that safety in manufacturing of agrochemical products be given the topmost priority. And as we talked about safety, I think we need to now migrate from just the word safety to a responsible manufacturing management system, if we may call that. When we talk about integrated responsible manufacturing management system, then we are talking about all the sub-segments within that, whether it be around the logistics safety, or it be around the process safety, manufacturing safety, or the environmental footprints of the same, whether it be regarding safety, health of the people, communities, uh, the entire stewardship of the products, etc. Having said that, I think we are at a very interesting threshold in India today, where the industry has a great opportunity thanks to all the geopolitical realignment that is happening globally. It's presenting India with a great opportunity to be a hub of global manufacturing. Now, for that to happen, I think few of the things are absolutely non-compromisable, and one of those elements is safety, the culture of safety. So the safety record of a country is something that is viewed the first thing whenever somebody is evaluating to manufacture in a particular country, whether the country has a safety record. Now, when we talk about this opportunity to be a global hub, I think I see this coming in two fashions. One is direct investment by the global companies. Second will be a very large and a larger component will be contract manufacturing in India, which will mean that there is a very strong potential and opportunity for the India-based companies to be connecting themselves to the global supply chain. Now, for that, one of the very important elements that needs to happen is that we need to now graduate to a what we call, what I said in the beginning, as a responsible manufacturing management system, rather than safety as a department, because safety cannot be a department. Safety is a culture, it's a mindset, and it's a very difficult mindset. We've lived for a long time on Chalta Hai mindset, but I think that's where the real issue is. So I think what we need essentially is we need to address the technical issues. For example, designs. Very recently I was discussing one of those industrial incident that happened, and we found out while the vessels were designed properly, the temperature monitoring at both the ends of the vessel, carrying a very inflammable solvent, were so different that while they were measuring the temperature at a lower end, the higher end blew up, and that's how the accident happened. Now, so this is technical issue. Design, we need to revisit the design of the equipment, definitely. Technological, I think the technologies are completely changing. We now need to leverage the newer technologies because we can't be flogging our existing assets a lot. So we need to upgrade on the technology front. Behavioral issue is the very crucial issue. I think we need to focus on good manufacturing practices, and behavioral change has to be the core of it. When I say behavioral change, it essentially means cultural training. And this training is not happening by way of somebody telling, do this. It will happen when people see leaders doing it, when the companies or the owners, when they start pushing for safety, that's when it's going to happen. I think a lot of mentorship is required there, and an opportunity to cross learning exists. I think FICCI is a platform that, along with CropLife, can possibly offer this mentorship or a cross learning, or maybe leverage the information technology to kind of have this culture of safety being reached out to all pesticide manufacturers, not only them, even to their intermediate or raw material manufacturers. So I think that's one big initiative we can take. which will then go on to address the larger safety ecosystem of the whole thing. Second element is about, very rightly mentioned by Honorable Additional Secretary Saab, is the respect for sustainability and the environment. I think that's what is going to determine where do we go from here. So a very strong focus on ESG is very crucial, very, very crucial. The third element which I would want to promote is the industry and the academia. They're working together on this aspect. You know, there are a lot of research that needs to happen on the safety aspect. While we develop a process, but the fine-tuning of the safety processes that needs to still be worked out. So I think if there can be a joint industry and academia research that can be carried out, which can be made available to everybody, and this can be a centrally funded project. No company needs to invest in it. There can be, we can develop processes at IITs or all the institutions that we have. The other element, which I just thought I'll just bring it, I'll not take much time here, is the point which Secretary Saab made, is the self-certification. I think the time for us to wait for an inspector to come and tell us we are going wrong is over. The time now comes where we on our own come forward and say, okay, I have a challenge on the safety front. I need help. Who can help me? And I think if we can, at the FICCI level or at CLI level, if we can have that system wherein we can possibly connect them to the right safety advisors, that will go a long way. You know, I want to really thank everybody who is attending this session today, because it shows your dedication towards the larger cause of safety and the global sustainability. I would like to thank FICCI here, both Manojji and the entire staff. I think they've done a tremendous amount of work on this. Ravi and Asitawa and the entire CropLife team. Samir Biswas, especially because I think what he has given is very important nuggets. If translated into action, those could take a long way forward, which clearly identify, and he has been very forthright and candid on what exactly the industry needs. He says that ease of doing without regulations interfering with the manufacturing process. So I think those self-certification and self-compliances, sustainability and circular economy, so those are very big words that have been already given to us. So thank you so very much, sir. I can assure you that this conference will lead to multiple conferences or training sessions moving forward, which will then be cascading down across, I would say even across associations maybe, like we are collaborating today. Maybe at some point in time, we need to collaborate between all the associations also to make sure that there's a safety as a culture is translated down. So with these words, I would like to thank everyone who has participated here, and we look forward to a safer and a much brighter and vibrant agrochemical industry moving forward. Thank you so very much for your time. I appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raju Kapoor, for that excellent concluding remarks and vote of thanks. Since we are a little behind, not much, but about 10 minutes behind schedule, we will initiate the next panel discussion without any further break. The first panel discussion, which is risk awareness, safety takeaways, and pathways to overcome industrial challenges. May I call Ms. Gitali Thakur, who is the head of Health, Safety and Environment for Deccan Fine Chemicals, who's also the moderator for this particular panel discussion, and all other panelists for this panel discussion. Gitali, over to you. My request to you is introduce yourself also and the other panelists, and then take it over from here. Thank you, Gitali, very much.
Okay. Thank you, Asitav, and thank you for the brief introduction of the panel and wonderful start of the event today. So I'm Geetali Thakur. I'm responsible for health, safety, environment for Deccan Fine Chemicals, which is into custom manufacturing, one of the leading custom manufacturer in crop protection industry. And I've got around 20 years of experience with 11 plus years of experience in health, safety, environment. I'm really privileged to be part of this August gathering with a lot of industrial professionals and subject matter experts around the world. The panel one is going to focus on current challenges and risk awareness, safety takeaways, and pathways to overcome industrial challenges in crop protection industry. So I, Geetali Thakur, on behalf of CLI, welcome you to the first panel discussion of today's session. India is poised to emerge as global chemical and petrochemical manufacturing hub, as what in fact our earlier speakers also noted. The Indian chemical and petrochemical industry is expected to continue its high growth trajectory and is projected to worth 304 billion USD by 2025 from the current valuation of USD 178 billion. So, which is almost twice of the growth. Globally, the climate changes again have caused insects and pests to evolve further. It's about survival of fittest, right? So they are again going by the Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest, and have developed the ability to resist the existing pesticides. So new pesticides are rapidly required to address the crisis and infrastructure for manufacturing various products. This particular gap globally as well as at a national level in terms of the higher demand is going to only increase the is only going to increase the demand for crop protection and furthermore manufacturing of crop protection in the industry. The growing opportunity for Indian business in turn is bound to stress growing importance of responsible manufacturing with a focus on production change management. So according to and referring to what Mr. Samir Biswas mentioned about some of the accidents in the industries which have occurred in the last few years, according to a report released by Industry All Union, 116 accidents have occurred in chemical and mining industries, leading to loss of life of 231 workers in the country from May 2020 to June 2021. Reasons can be multiple, though at an individual level, it's just one life. It's just one life that all of us have been gifted with, and this life is of that individual is what all the leaders on this forum we are responsible for. Whether it was an incident of nitric acid being unloaded into a different tank, whether it was an incident related to ammonium nitrate being stored in warehouses, or dust explosion of lignite dust in a which led to explosion in a boiler, and there were fatalities at 28-meter height. One thing that was common in all this was risk awareness. If anyone handling these unsafe conditions were aware about the risk, there was high possibility that these incidents could have been averted. Our industrial veterans on the panel will focus on the challenges and importance of risk awareness as part of this panel. Also, something interesting, which I heard recently about a 24-48 rule. Social media is quite, transmissive. So many of you must have also heard about it. People working in an industry are compartmentalized based on this rule, based on the ambient air temperature that they work at, at 24 category and 48 category. The 24 ones, like, we all are actually sitting in this 24-degree ambient temperature, are the ones who draft policies, make procedures, work instructions, schedules, plans, and the 48 compartment, the 48 category are the ones who drive it. They are the ones who transport our chemicals. They are the ones who drive the forklift, charge that particular raw material, and drive the sales job, everything on the field. Our panel, I have got a habit of, making everything mine. So my panel, our panel, the panel one, will focus on this particular link, on how the link of 24 category and 48 category, the link in between that will play a key role to address the grassroots level of operational challenges, including production management. why is production management so important? And a management is basically a management of change, or a production change management. It's like a permit given to deviate from what has been working normal routine. I'm sure that somebody's been doing a certain job in a manner, and then we go back and say that this is what we have got to do in terms of a change. And has been actually one of the reason for incidents if the management of change or the production management has not been actually really handled well. So our panel is also going to talk about that. So it is said that the management systems are as good as the weakest link in the system. We all are small ecosystems making a larger ecosystem on this planet, right? So our ecosystem or our system is as good as that particular weakest link. And our panel is going to focus on how various aspects of production management can be that particular weak link, and how we could strengthen it for excellence in safety in manufacturing. We'll also discuss on role of policies in driving safety. And also, as Mr. Raju Kapoor said, safety is about the mindset of people, right? So we'll also touch upon leadership, governance, organizational culture. So overall on this particular panel, we have a wonderful mix of policymaker, global EHS leaders who have been veteran in operational practices. So, who has really handled hardcore 48 category, and an EHS leader with a blend of various wonderful functions with EHS from one of the most reputed in Indian crop protection industry. So today in this particular panel, we bring over a century of experience to the table. So whether you like to call it as fest, cocktail, mocktail, whatever you would like to call it. Yeah, it's going to be a wonderful feast, cocktail, mocktail to the audience to learn from these think tanks. So before we move forward, I'll just few logistics to mention here. The panel discussion will last for about 40 minutes. We'll try to see if we can make it by 35 minutes. And then whoever has any question and answer can post it in the chat box. We'll take question and answer after these 40 minutes for about 10 minutes. Post 10 minutes, we have a concluding session, and that's how, in fact, we'll have to restrict ourselves for 10 minutes for the Q&A. And yeah, so with this, with this setting of tone, you may say, setting of context for this particular panel, let me introduce you to my distinguished panelists. So to start with, Mr. Lalit Gabane. I'm sure that, probably all of you on this panel, on this forum know him well. He's Director General, National Safety Council of India. So Mr. Lalit Gabane is brings in 33 years of experience in safety, health and environment, and fire protection. He's a chairman of CHD 8 sectional committees of Bureau of Indian Standards on Occupational Safety and Health. He's also a member of expert committee set up by Ministry of Labor and Employment, Government of India. Mr. Gabane is also a member of Board of Governors of National Board for Quality Promotion of Quality Council of India. And he possesses a master degree in engineering from University of Maryland, USA, and diploma in safety engineering. He has previously worked for renowned multi-location, multi-product, and multinational organizations like Daico India, ITC Limited, and Hindustan Aeronautical Limited in various leadership capacities. Thank you for being on this panel, sir, and I welcome you to the panel.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. The next panelist we have is Dr. Roman Progasa. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Dr. Roman. Global EHS head for the chemical company. Yeah, globally they say the BASF calls themselves as creating history. So global EHS head for agricultural solutions for BASF. Dr. Roman is primarily the EHS point of contact for business, including own sites, tollers, warehouses, and is responsible for communication with regional and global EHS teams. He provides practical EHS guidance and direction to support site operations and sites globally. And Dr. Roman is responsible in developing sustainable EHS programs to meet BASF responsible care requirements and country-specific EHS legislations. So I've met Dr. Rahman at our Goa site, and what he has written in his as part of this introduction, he's really someone who is at that grassroots level and would say that, on your storage tanks, can you put GHS pictograms, right? So that the person on the shop floor exactly knows what it means. Yeah. So welcome to you, Dr. Rahman. Yeah.
Thank you, Gitali. Thank you for your kind introduction.
Yeah. We have Mr. Pradeep Jain, President, Operations PI Industries. Is Pradeep there around? You could just, hello, Pradeep.
Yeah, hi.
Mr. Pradeep Jain is an experienced chemical manufacturing professional, worked across API and agrochemical industries in India. And as a successful leader, Pradeep brings diverse perspectives gained from his manufacturing functions in different industries. To name are Lupin, Dr. Reddy's, Heikel Limited, and Jubilant Life Sciences. And his expertise is in building a high-powered, result-oriented team to unleash the untapped potential of the organization. He's really someone with a lot of operational experience, and we are very happy to have you on board, sir. Pradeep is basically an engineering graduate from HBTI Kanpur with PG Diploma in Business Management, and has earned various certificates from IIM Kolkata and IIM Bangalore.
Thank you, Gitali. It's my pleasure.
Yeah. The next panelist we have is Mr. Alok Chandra.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning,
Good
Gitali.
morning, sir. Right. So Mr. Alok has a wonderful, you can say, blend of everything that a EHS person additionally could have. He's Vice President HR, Corporate Sustainability, EHS, and CSR for LS India, one of the most reputed crop protection organization in crop protection in India. Alok has about 23 years of experience, out of which has about 30 years of experience, out of which the 23 years is in EHS, while serving in companies like DECM, Shriram Consolidation, UPL, SRF, and RELIS India. He's a member on ICC, SHG committees, Responsible Care committees, core member of Safety Rating Committee, CWC, and Bombay Chamber of Commerce Sustainability Committee. So Alok also has published several papers and is a lead auditor for OSHA and ISO 45,000, ISO 14,000. I'm sure, sir, you will bring a lot of your knowledge to this panel, and really looking forward to it.
Thank you, Gitali.
Yeah. With this, right, how much time do we have? I think we have probably another 30 minutes or so. Yeah. For the panel discussion. So all my panelists are ready. More like a teacher here, right? Right. Yes, sir. So let's start with Dr. Rahman. Dr. Rahman, you have been heading the global EHS function for agricultural solutions for BASF, one of the largest chemical company, as we said, the chemical company. So can you brief us on what are the global challenges faced by crop protection industry, and what are the opportunities available for Indian crop protection industry to help in solving these challenges?
Digitali, thank you for giving me opportunity to explain the standpoint of BASF to EHS topics. In general, there is a very strong focus on avoiding and minimizing of chemical exposure to the people and environment pollution. And by the consequent application of the voluntary management program of chemical industry for responsible care, BASF sets a high level of EHS standards at our own sites, but also expects fulfilling those by external partners in our contract manufacturing business. And you know all about it.
Yeah.
The responsible care audits regularly checks the readiness of the management and plant systems to handle the hazards from the manufacturing process. And this approach allows us to discover shortcomings at different sites, to harmonize EHS systems, and to have a common basis globally for all our programs. And this is my responsibility to help and to support our sites, our partners, to fulfilling all our requirements which are need to avoid any big incident, or in general to avoid any incidents. In respect of occupational health and safety, BASF adheres to the E-stop principle. I don't know if you know that, but that means before use of chemicals, there is an evaluation if this chemical could be eliminated or substituted. And I know that it's not always possible, but in that case, we try to find first technical solution before we get some organizational measures, or to prepare or to provide PPE to our employees. But this means also that risk assessment is the essential part of our work, and this needs to be done for each and single activity, for all kind of hazards. And nowadays we clearly see that we have declining trend of hazards with, or incident with contamination by hazardous chemicals, because we applied this principle and see, okay, we have a technical measures and organizational measures before we send somebody to handle the have a open handling of hazardous chemicals.
Yeah.
We have a similar tool also of risk assessment in plant installation called HAZOP studies, applies also at BASF to avoid any process incident. And here is it important to revalidate studies and apply safeguards according to the latest development, learning of current incidents, and apply also new scenarios to the or new type of safeguards.
Yeah. Okay, that's wonderful. So what I pick up from you, Dr. Roman, is with really the focus on hierarchy of controls, so bringing in more and more engineering controls for handling this kind of crop protection chemicals that we have. What we really spoke about in the part of inaugural session, that there are a lot of incidents that are happening, and then if that's a concept which is imbibed or integrated with our crop protection industry ways of working. You're saying that that's something which can help Indian industry to really attract more business globally, because globally with growing population, the business is surely available.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, right. That's great. So yeah, that was really the global perspective on crop protection. Moving to our policy maker, Mr. Lalit. So Lalitji, as per the annual report from Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers, the chemical industry is expected to grow at annual growth of 9.3% by 2024-25. With your wide experience as a member in drafting policies, can you shed some light on how the upcoming EHS legislations will help manage safety in manufacturing effectively?
Thank you, Geetali, and once again, very good morning to all my fellow panelists and the audience who is attending this event. Yes, as per the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers report, the growth rate for the chemical sector is expected to be about 9% by the year 24-25. Very good, but we also need to see that how we address the safety, how the accidents and chemical releases will not happen, and such accidents will not hamper the growth rate. As you all may be aware, the Occupational Health Safety and Working Conditions Code 2020 has been released by the government authorities, and some work is still happening in framing the certain rules under section 18, 23 and 24 of the new OSH code. The new OSH code is actually a repilation of 13 old acts together, and they have been all combined and made one OSH code 2020. It's a very wonderful document, and I'm sure it will help the industry to address the safety, health, environment, and welfare and working condition issues of the industry, of the workers. how this legislation will help manage safety. Definitely, it's a very well documented set of rules. It facilitates ease of doing business as far as safety and health is concerned. The inspector Raj will be minimal, just minimal. The inspectors will be called inspectors come facilitator, means they will help the industries in addressing the issues and resolving the issues. The rules are very well clearly defined, very easy to understand by various stakeholders, and the risk-based approach is being adopted. The committees have been appointed to frame these rules, and the work is going on, and I think very shortly the rules framing job will also be completed. So this set of rules are definitely, because I have gone through them, I'm member in one or two of those committees appointed by the government of India. So never before, they are very, very clearly defined. Each and every industry, its risks will be addressed, are being addressed in that. If you are a chemical industry, what are the risks and what is expected from you as far as the safety health is concerned? If you are a construction industry, what requires to be done? Employees, what are their responsibilities? How they should address and to whom they should report the health and safety issues if they come across any such things at their workplace. Yeah. So in total, I definitely feel that this new set of EHS legislations is going to help manage the safety very, very effectively in the interest of the management, in the interest of the occupier, and in the interest of the every workers in that.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you, Kali.
Yeah, wonderful, sir. That's really a positive outlook about the upcoming EHS legislations, where you have been part of these committees to frame the frame few of them. So we have Mr. Pradeep, who has with a lot of operational experience. So Mr. Pradeep, the next question to you is, you have long experience of and expertise in core manufacturing function. You are heading operations of one of the fastest growing agrochemical company organization in India. So growth is proportional to agility. Can you, we would really like to hear to you on your views of what are some of the major challenges faced to match the agility of operations demanded during the execution of production change management?
Good. I think thanks, Gitali, for bringing up such a relevant question of this today's topic. So definitely, I think I will not go on the importance of the change management in a whole industrial environment, because we know that it's very important to document the change management system rightly and implementation of that system in the organizations which are having the multiple production operations at the same site or managing the multiple sites. So in such kind of the environment where the senior leadership visibility is low to the shop floor, such kind of the documented systematic change management system is very, very important. But yes, I will go on the challenges. What are the challenges normally operation people are facing it, and how those things we can just do that? The first thing is that the change is still in our industrial environment. This piece of documentation related to the change is considered a mere documentation. Still that mindset is there. Yes, operation people are the action oriented. They have nothing to do with the documentation part. So I think this kind of a mindset, although there is a change is happening, but yes, there is a good need to change on the shop floor people, that whatever the work they are doing with their hands in the operation, documentation, what they are doing it, and whatever it's a documented system is there, keep on repeating the same kind of the things day by day, hour and hour. It's very important for them to have the consistency in the operation. So the documentation part, I think the biggest challenge is how to bring the people of the operation coming to the documentation part, asking them to go through the documents and work as per that documented procedure. It's really a biggest challenge. And for that, I think very rigorous training is required, refresher training is required for the people. This is the first challenge. Second challenge is the hierarchy of the, in the evaluation process of any change which we are doing it. First thing is that the hierarchy which they are approving it, I think somewhere in that approval process, people are losing the heat of that approval process and they consider it, yes, whatever the change which is there and whatever the recommendation has come from the level of the investigation team, unless until the proper evaluation at the different level is done by the cross-functional team and cross-functional leadership, I think that change, real sense of that change will not be coming it up, because number of times our investigation team failed to come to the real root cause of any kind of the safety incident which has happened, and they just put up by experience whatever they feel that this is the root cause, and just they close with that kind of their experience, and with the maybe a one-line evaluation of that, they just close the investigation and they put the recommendation on that. So there is a evaluation process in this whole senior leadership which are getting involved in that, the cross-functional senior leadership which is involved in that, a proper evaluation at the different level before going for the final approval is definitely required. And I think in our industrial environment, this is the one is the lacking area in almost industries which I have observed it. So once this proper evaluation and when the change is approved, the next challenge is coming to the implementation part. Now, senior leadership, we feel that once the change is approved, it will be getting implemented automatically in the system. It's not so. The change, the recommendation, converting the recommendation to the actionable item, this is the one big lacking which I'm just observing it. Unless until you put those recommendations in the actionable item, like in the form of SOP, like in the form of checklist, like in the form of in your work instruction, that change we need to bring in those documents, and the proper training of that change has to happen it. We are leaving it to the people, those who are on the shop floor, to implement that change. And I think this is the biggest mistake which we all are doing it. We need to ensure it, we need to monitor it, whether the change is happened in the right documents, either in the SOP, either in the work instruction, either in the checklist. And in that also, whether the right instructions are written, because if you are leaving it to the people, those who are managing on the shop floor, they will be writing it with their own competencies and with the experience, what instruction they will be correcting it. Now, right kind of the language, right kind of the reflection from that, whatever they have written, it has to come out. So I think this is very important from the implementation point of view.
Right. So
the third thing which is there is the attrition, basically, which in the industry we are just seeing it, because the culture of the industry, and if normally attrition, which we are seeing it on the shop floor of chemical industries, it's somewhere around 10 to 15%, every industry is experiencing it. And I think the people, those who are coming from the different culture, a different experience, unless until they are properly trained in your SOPs, in the work instruction, the new changes which you are going to have it's very difficult, because they will not be owning that change, and with their own experience, they will be doing the action on the shop floor, and which will be again going against your work instruction, against your SOP. So the attrition is, another area of the challenge, how to control the attrition. And even if this problem is there, that attrition, the new people, those who are coming, what level of the training we need to give them, what different modules of the training we need to give them, it all depends on them, on your trainer's competencies, what kind of training material you are giving it to the new people, how much time you are giving it to adjust with your environment, because we have observed it. The moment person is joining, within 2 to 3 days, you are asking him to join the shop floor. And I think this is the mistake which we are doing it. Any new person which is coming, at least he will take 2 weeks time to get acquainted with your culture, of the organization. And once he is acquainted with the culture, going through the different kind of the work instruction also, it will be taking the time. So this is the another challenge which industry is having it. And I think these are the 3 challenges which I feel is most important, which we all senior leader has to take care on the shop floor.
Yes. That was wonderful insight, Pradeepji. Yeah, I mean, in terms of documentation, how the document should really talk with what's really happening on the shop floor. And you also got into details of why it doesn't happen so, is because the recommendations don't really get into the actionable items as well as the attrition rate. That was a wonderful insight. And thank you for that. Let me move to my next panelist, Mr. Alok. So Alok ji, chemical industry in India is the 6th largest producer of chemical globally and 3rd largest producer in Asia in terms of output. The country ranks 3rd globally in production of agrochemicals. However, during the recent times, there were major accidents which have occurred in the Indian chemical industry, which has smudged the image of chemical industry. Apart from what the earlier panelists have spoken about, what is your view about on how sustainability initiatives can help the Indian industry build a positive image? You really have a very good blend of HR, CSR, sustainability, EHS together. So it will be really nice to hear from you.
Yeah, Gitali, thank you very much. And I think, this is a very important aspect because I have seen both inside and outside how community is looking at us and how government bodies are looking at the crop protection industry. And when it comes to sustainability, it is the most important aspect in sustainability is how the top management is driving the sustainability. Do you have a triple bottom line approach? Do you have a framework? Do you have a roadmap which is available next 3 years, next 5 years, and 10 years? So if we have a clarity on the roadmap which is there, that's one part of it. But most important part of it, how we are moving on this path. So we have set up something for 3 years, 5 years, but whether we have started moving on this. One of the example I will give on the social front of it, because this triple bottom line, 10 years back, it was a buzzword, but now it has become reality and is need of hour. That where environment bottom line, social bottom line should drive economy bottom line. It should not be other way, right? And that's why in social bottom line, where safety is a deeply entrenched in the social bottom line. One of the example I will give, 10 years back, we have decided that we'll move away from the red triangle product. You know, red triangle, yellow triangle, and blue triangle. This is a part of the product classification. And that was the decision which we have taken to go for a less toxic product. Though toxic products are there, but can we move to less toxic products? But that's a decision which it cannot be taken at shop floor level. It cannot be taken at unit level. It is actually a top management or the board level decision. So that's a way how the top management or a board can see show a commitment towards sustainability. Now coming to another say important bottom line, which is the environment bottom line. And the first thing which is environment bottom line and why it is important, chemical industries are known for polluting. So either stinking smell you will find in industrial area. I will find a lot of pollutant which is going outside through the stack or through your drain. So all this is chemical industry is known for. And I think this is the right time when we have to see at design level what we can do to nab this the pollutant which are going. So can we use the technologies to minimize these pollutant which are going and then with the pollutant, can we also talk about something on the climate change? And can we go for a renewable source of energy? So in your roadmap, where renewable source of energy? So what is your target? So whether 10%, 50%, 70% use of renewable energy, that's another aspect which is very important in sustainability. And then comes to the circular economy. We are talking about a lot of on the circular economy, but exactly what we are doing, to conserve the natural resource, exactly what we are doing. Say each step of the process, are we evaluating that? Can we reuse it? Can we can we move to a direction where we can produce wealth from waste? So what is our plan and what we are doing towards this? And then lastly, the another important aspect is, are we thinking about cleaner energy? Are we thinking about, say going for a green building kind of, or green factory kind of a concept? I think if we do all this, this definitely gives a message to the society, to the community, to the authorities that, yeah, this is something which is not only make a business sustainable, but it will contribute for the area around, and holistically it is seen as a cleaner and greener kind of a industry as a whole. So these are a few things which I just wanted to share.
Yes. Yes. So Alokji, that was really nice. One point that I really liked about is what you said is good HSE is good business. Yeah. So when you spoke about the triple bottom line and how so good HSE is now a foundation to good business, especially for industries like crop protection industry. And I completely agree with you that odor, minimum odor or odor-free site actually brings kind of a rapport in the community around that. Yes, this is really a healthy way of EHS operations at that particular site. So our Goa site is one of the kind. So anybody who gets an opportunity, please do visit. So we do have a site which looks more like a national park rather than a crop protection industry site. Yeah. Okay, so we move to we would again go back to Mr. Lalit. And Lalitji, the next question to you is: Indian chemical industry has been driven by increasing domestic demand and strong exports. So it is set to witness again positive changes and become a key investment destination soon as the flagship initiative of government aims to improve and transform India into a global manufacturing hub for chemical and petrochemical industries. How do you pursue this role of premium non-professional organization like NSC in building competency, leadership, and governance in driving safety in manufacturing? We have now just around 10 minutes or so left, so we'll take brief answers on the questions for this particular round. Lalitji, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Gitali. I think it's a nice question. I have to speak about my organization, how my organization is partnering with the Indian chemical industry and other industries at large in driving the safety performance or improving the health and safety conditions at the workplaces. As you are aware, NSC is more than 55 years old organization set up by Ministry of Labour, Government of India for building the safety culture in the country, in the industries in India. How the organizations like NSC or similar organizations can help. Maybe for that matter, even CII and FICCI like organizations. What we do, how we partner with industry, how NSC partners with industry, is there are various programs which we run, right from some the training programs at various levels, the risk-specific training programs, then the specific safety inspections, safety audits, safety awards, the national safety rating system, etc., etc. But what we have observed is, because NSC team visits various sectors, various industries, and a lot of information is available with us. Recently, we have done some It's a survey also about 300 companies. In that survey, what we notice is about 32% in 32% organizations, there is no involvement of top leadership in safety activities. And not, surprisingly, there are many chemical industries also. And this is what happens, gives again rise to the Bhopal-like incidents, or even the recent Visakhapatnam-like incidents. So leadership is lacking in those 32% places of that sample 300 companies. So the leadership needs to be committed to safety, and that will will build a positive safety culture in any organization. So the organizations like MSC or CII or FICCI, where are the large companies and their CEOs are members. So these organizations have to address those issues, discuss, create sort of a forum where the leadership will be taken only through the class of safety, what they need to do, how they improve the safety performance of their organization. Today we talk of triple bottom line. Triple bottom line is a very, very vast subject. And under the social pillar of the triple bottom line, safety is just one part, and largely that pillar get occupied by other environmental and other social issues. So safety has to be addressed at large, at appropriate, at senior level, and that role the organizations like NSC can do, or organizations like CII, FICCI can do.
Great.
Governance. Every organization must have a proper governance process in place. Whatever accident or any kind of safety incident happens, to what level, by whom it should be reported, at what frequency the senior management or the top management should review. Is safety discussed at the board level, or just numbers are shown, one slide on safety issues, and then the other business starts? Is that adequate? Now, there cannot be written rules for this governance mechanism. It's every individual organization which has to define their governance practices as far as the safety is concerned. So in such areas, NSC-like organizations can definitely play a very, very prominent role in setting up the governance mechanism for the organizations, which will definitely help them to build a culture of safety and reduce their and improve their the working conditions. Thank you, Gitali.
Yeah, that was nice, sir. That was good. So you really spoke about how the top management commitment is really important, and how NSC and similar institutes can help with certain kind of training, competence building programs on this. So that's nice. We move to Dr. Roman, and Dr. Roman, this is one of your favorite topic. So taking this link ahead from how in fact the organizations like NSC can be building competency in the industry to bring in more safer operations. We tend to observe that a lot of accidents and incidents have one thing in general, and incline towards the root cause investigation ends up somewhere around as a human error, in inverted commas. And it also, in some cases, it further boils down to behavioral safety. So we would like to hear your views on role of behavioral-based safety in safe operations, and how we can drive it to execute successful change management.
Good question, Gitali. And speaking about behavioral safeties, and on my opinion, about the recognition of the employees in chemical industry to handle EHS topic, not as something add-on, but as an integral part of the daily work. as everybody does in the private life while crossing the street, cutting the vegetables in the kitchen, whatever. Yeah. So there is a need to raise the awareness about the possible hazards and about the protection of oneself, but also about the protection of my colleagues. So that means taking the responsibility when I see as an employee unsafe condition or unsafe handling. Yeah. The organization needs to encourage and honor such a behavior and be open-minded to speak up. And with such a support, the employee will realize the added value of EHS. That's our goal. Yeah.
Yeah.
For instance, a few years ago, my team started attentiveness initiative due to a high number of incidents with lack of attention as a main reason. In our perspective, it's human nature to lose focus. So we didn't point finger out to our colleagues saying, be focused, concentrate on the work. No, we asked for examples in which our employees reported being extracted. For instance, entering the plant without safety helmet, stepping in a puddle of spilled chemicals, or missing the next exit from the highway due to a phone call. Yeah. Yeah. So the deeper meaning of our approach is to raise the awareness by a self-recognition. And in the next step, we shared with our employees some tools for attentiveness shaping.
Yeah.
But put it in figures, destruction leads to 20% higher resource demand, 20% higher failure quote, and at the end, to injuries, loss of lives, and environmental pollution.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's true. So it's about just not knowing about what's the right thing to do, but also correcting the unsafe conditions, unsafe act that you see. Yeah, and that's really culturally driven. I agree with you, Dr. Roman. Right. So we move to one of our favorite topic of this particular panel is on the risk awareness, and I'll request Mr. Alok to give us his views on what are the current challenges in CP industry. Release basically has a wide portfolio of products, and he will be probably one of the right one to talk about this. So current challenges in CP industry on risk awareness at each level of organization.
Yeah, Gitali, I will be very straight. 3-4 things because lack of time, I will only give you pointers. One of the most important thing is the information about the chemicals which we are handling, information about the processes which we are handling. And to my surprise, 10 years back, a decade back, when we started implementing the PSM, process safety management, and one of the important element is PSI, which is process safety information. We were surprised that say number of say information which is actually very important to run a process safe. Actually, we were not. It was not there. And then we realized certainly that we were running say these processes, and everybody is running those processes without having the complete information about the hazard, complete information about what can go wrong. Say when everything is moving, safe, everything moving is in a say silent manner. Nobody worries. But when what worries when the deviation comes, and then you have to know how to troubleshoot it, how to make it correct. So that's one area where the lack of information is one area where we have to work on as a CP industry. Second is the communication. So if we have information available, how do we communicate? Many of us, we work on confidentiality kind of a thing that, yeah, we want to make our processes confidential. We want, even we are codifying our chemicals which we are using. And then suddenly we realize how much we have to communicate and how healthy it would be. And if you don't communicate and people don't realize that this much of a potential is there, this much of a hazard is there, and this is the risk potential, if they won't realize, they won't act in a manner they should act to actually minimize the risk. That's another area which is important. And third, which is say raised by say another colleague is attrition. You know, shop floor, a lot of attrition is there, and new people comes. They worked in say may not worked in the similar industry. They dealt with certain chemicals, but when they come to say our industry or a certain industry, they have a new processes to run. They have a new chemicals to deal with, and in haste, many a times we give them charge that okay, in a month's time you will take charge. And what happens when they don't have the visibility? They don't have say experience in troubleshooting of that particular reaction or particular chemical. I think that creates say whatever untoward incidents we are facing. That is another factor which is there. So these three things. There are many other things, but these three things top of my mind, which is actually say a hindrance or challenge in the risk awareness.
Correct. Yeah. Pradeep ji, a quick one for you. Maybe we are actually short of time, but then we'd like to listen to your view on role of change management in risk reduction and how we can interlink it to asset integrity. If you can take the second part, it's okay. Otherwise, just a quick one on.
Okay. Okay. So I will just cut short my discussion, on this change management and risk reduction. Basically, if we see that whatever the methodologies we follow in our risk assessment and the risk reduction, and normally we bring the risk with our different, either we call it the engineering controls or the administrative controls. We bring the risk to the level which is an acceptable level. Now this acceptable level basically depends the nature of the risk, basically the complexities which are involved in that hazards handling, also the culture and the organizations, how they are viewing the safety culture in the organization. It all depends on that. Now this acceptable, which is we call it the residual risk in our risk assessment kind of the methodologies. Once this is getting evaluated, how to bring that change, in our shop floor or in our organizations, the change control management, which is a well documented and a robust management system is there. Now, unless until whatever the system you are having it, unless until you put all those things in the really action, unless until you monitor it at the regular level, unless until the senior leadership putting in the time in monitoring it and assessing that whatever the change management system which is running, how successfully it is running, somewhere we need to keep on monitoring it, this and cross-checking it, if whatever the change is there related to this risk assessment and the risk, whatever the recommendations are coming after this risk assessment, whether those things are implemented rightly, unless until we invest our time in those kind of the activities, I think no system, either it's electronically or the paper documented system related to the change management, it won't be successful. So to run it successfully, I always believe that is somewhere the middle management level as the senior management level of the site has to get involved on those implementation and the monitoring part of that. And monitoring also should not be done once in 6 months you have done it. I think somewhere at the regular frequency of maybe a bi-weekly or the monthly basis, this monitoring is to be done. How implementation and how successful implementation, what people are really following it up or not, those monitoring is really very important to be a successful change management system in the organization.
Wonderful. Wonderful, Pradeep ji. Yeah, just to emphasize further on that, what we have at our site is we have a monthly management of change committee, which is actually reviewed by the leadership team, including the site head, which looks at how many out of hours MOCs were raised and whether there were any incidents because of the MOC and things like that. So you brought in a very important point in terms of monitoring this system that we have set. So wonderful. I think we are actually on time, maybe a little 5 minutes late, but we can take Q&A. Asitawa, can we take Q&A? We do have.
Yes, you can take maybe 5 minutes for Q&A if there is any question from the audience. Otherwise, you can ask 1 or 2 questions.
We do have 2 questions in the chat box. Right. So the first question is, in brief, what are the top 3 reasons for accidents in crop protection or chemical sector? Wonderful. There's a wonderful question from Mahesh Chandek. Who would like to take it?
Can you repeat the question, Geetali? I could not listen it.
It's there in the chat box. It says, in brief, what are the top 3 reasons for accidents in crop protection or chemical sector? He's already asked us to be brief, huh, Mahesh? Yeah.
Should I take this question, Geetali, with your due permission?
Yes, please.
Okay. So basically, in our agrochemical industries, if we see that we are seeing the 2 kind of the industries. Basically, one is which is the industry which is the highly automated industries, where we call it industrial 4.0 basic 4.0, where the industries are highly automated and all plants are DCS plant. The challenges in those industries are different than the industries which are still on the lower side of the automation, where the manual intervention is more. So again, now the challenge in those kind of industries which are the not highly automated, definitely the human factor is the most important factor in accidents prevention in those industries. Now the training of the people, those who are there, again it is coming on the behavioral based safety part. What approach people are having it towards maintaining the systems on the shop floor, because normally people, they tend to do the bypass and the shortcut to either wherever the time loss which they have done it in their shifts. So they try to hasten the process somewhere, either it's related to the material handling or related to the process parameters. So definitely the behavioral safety program is very, very important program for those kind of the industries. While the industries, those who are highly automated, the DCS industry now, the software and automations are bringing a lot of reduction in the human interface with the operation. But at the same time, it's creating a lot of complexities in maintaining those, electronic systems. And if we are of that mindset, yes, we have now installed it and it will run forever without having any kind of the calibration and the validation procedure at the certain frequency, then I think we are in the wrong world. Automation, whatever the automation you do, that it brings a lot of reduction in your accidents rate, which are there, where the human factor is getting involved. But at the same time, unless until you have the robust system of maintaining those complexities of the electronic system, it will not work rightly.
So Pradeep,
basically, if we see that in the aviation industry, the accident rate is lowest, and that industry and that traveling mode is considered as the safest mode because of this, because of the automation, high level of automation. But unless until you maintain those systems rightly, you will be falling to the accident part of this. So again, coming that the challenges are different. One challenge is bringing the training the human factor. Another challenge is maintaining the robust system of your electronic system which you are using it for the operation.
Wonderful answer, Pradeep ji. Wonderful answer. You really nailed it, right, I should say. So human factors and then asset integrity part of it, how both are important. Very good. The next question that we have is, again, Samir has said in brief global climate change initiatives and its correlations. I think Mr. Alokji had covered that when he spoke about circular economy, and then when he spoke about renewable sources of energy. So that's something which we all can do as part of being, as part of this planet. Yeah. So Asitao, I think we are done with this particular panel, and yeah, thanks for giving us opportunity. I hope we have not overrun too much on time.
No, we are doing okay. We started 10 minutes later, so we are 10 minutes lag.
Yes, so I'll actually take up now. So it's about the concluding session for our panel.
No, you please invite Robert Stanton.
Yes. I'll just brief him. I'll brief him. I'll brief his bio, and then also ask him. And I'm just looking out for Robert actually. Robert, are you there? Yeah. I can see you, though I can't hear you yet. Right. Robert Stanton, whom people know more as Bob Stanton, is the head of product supply for Biocrop Science, one of the major player in chemical industry and in crop protection industry. He's based in Singapore. He's responsible for seeds and crop protection production and supply chain operations. He has worked in the industry for over 25 years in supply chain, manufacturing and procurement roles, and has led teams in active ingredient manufacturing and sourcing of crop protection active ingredients and intermediates. So I would request Bob for his concluding remarks and the Asia perspective in crop protection industry. Over to you, Bob.
Thanks, Gitali. You can hear me clearly, yes?
Yes, now
Excellent.
yes.
So first off, I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody involved in this on behalf of CropLife Asia Pacific. I'm a member of the Operations Committee, and we're a small group that discusses a very small number of topics, and it's not by chance that 70% of them are health, safety, and sustainability. So absolutely wonderful to see this session today, so important for our industry. So first off, just to thank the organisers, CropLife India and Vici, and all of the speakers and the panelists. Really interesting hour we've had. And I would just like to share a few of my thoughts, maybe from a more global or regional perspective. Some of you will be old friends. You will know me from my times of working in India and visiting India, doing sourcing activities. You know, when I think about HSE and sustainability, I always come back to the same thing, that it's all about people. And it starts with the industry. If you think about our industry and the importance for farmers and agriculture in India, and you think about the importance for consumers. And I think, you know, the people I know in the industry really have a big heart. They have a very strong commitment to doing things correctly. But at the end, we still have to persuade the communities and the legislators and the governments and our employees that we know how to do our activities in the right way. And I think the biggest challenge is for this group here, which is the companies that are doing production and manufacturing, to really show that we have that commitment to the safety of our people and sustainability. I think, you know, working for a large global company, it's very easy to think that the way that companies operate in Asia is different. And in my experience over 25 years has just taught me the importance of everybody to share. As you probably read in the news, there was a major incident a couple of weeks ago with Currenta in Germany, which was part of this previous Bayer conglomerate, a company that's been in existence for 150 years. And I think when you see these type of incidents across the globe with major companies, you understand the criticality of sharing, the criticality of really thinking through the way that you run your process and safety. And we had just some really great discussions today, both from the panelists and from the other speakers on some of those elements. I think, you know, for me, when I think about this topic, I had an experience where I actually led a plant where we did have an incident, where we had a process safety incident, we lost an employee. And coming back again to people, why do we do all of this? We do it to protect our people at the end and our communities. And I think if you've ever been unfortunate to be in one of those situations and seen the impact on the employees at the site and their shock at the loss of a colleague, or you've had to deal with the family, or you've had to later on go through a major investigation, you understand the importance of everything that's been discussed today. Maybe just some takeaways from the panel discussion and some takeaways from the other speeches. It was very interesting to see the mix of topics that we've covered today, and I think that tells you a lot about the challenges of this topic. We had discussion around legislation, the importance that legislators support us, and we support ourselves in the right way to have legislation that's practical and can work. We had discussions around culture and behavior. How do we make sure that everybody within our plants understands the importance of this topic and follows the guidance and the rules and regulations that we have. The importance of just our systems and process and documentation. The one that I'd like to just pick up on, though, was our role as leaders. And I think it was Gitali made a nice comment that, you know, many of us here today sit in offices, we think about, you know, how we can make things safe. We drive different programs for our sites, but ultimately it's about, do the people that work within the processes and the plants follow our role modeling? Do we make it easy for them? And do we inspire them to see this as one of the most important things in their day? So that for me was something, you know, a very big takeaway. And the other piece, which was the comment that Rajat Kapoor made around how do you integrate this into everything that you do? I love that Alok is head of HR and HSE. I think it shows that, you know, health and safety and sustainability are not separated from the other things that we do in our companies. And that for me is just another part of our leadership. As we talk on topics, we have to come back in a discussion around output and a discussion around yield also to those safety and sustainability topics. So maybe just a couple of parting thoughts from myself. I know this is really an important topic for Indian companies. As I said, it's something which brings wealth and it brings health to India, a country where I lived for 3.5 years of my life, and I had a wonderful experience there. And there's a part of my heart that which will always be in India. And, you know, one of the things that I learned, India really has some of the best in class manufacturing companies. And, you know, I remember my sourcing days and going to visit some of the plants from some of the companies on this call and realizing the standards were really second to none. The use of innovation, the use of technology, instrumentation. At the same time, we all know that there's other companies within the ecosystem where we need to help them to raise standards. And therefore, I think this whole piece of sharing and holding others accountable to standards and making sure they understand their importance in this picture is also something that we should all be accountable for and advocate and push. My final part, and I'm really interested to see the second panel discussion. I think there's a massive opportunity coming in health, safety, and sustainability. And that opportunity is if we look at technology and digital, how can we become even smarter at the way that we approach these topics? And I'm really interested to see how the second set of panelists talk about the future. And I think it's an exciting moment for us in the industry to look at new innovations and new digital. So finally, I would just like to thank all of you for participating. It shows your major commitment to this topic, a major commitment to farmers, to consumers, your employees. And I can only ask you, please keep doing these type of activities within India and keep advocating for doing things the right way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Do we have Gitali still with us, or is she disconnected for some reason?
I think she has a connection problem, looking at it.
No problem. I think she did her job very well. So in her absence, maybe she can hear us. Thank you very much, Gitali, for this excellent moderation.
Yeah. Thank you. It's Murphy's Law, you know, so I just got disconnected. Right. Thank you. Yeah, you can move forward to the next panel.
Sure. I mean, since we are a little behind schedule,
yeah.
We'll move forward. So thanks to all of you, Mr. Gavane, Roman, Pradeep, Alok, Robert, such passionate set of individuals who not only knows what is HSE, but lives by the whole principle of HSE. It's encouraging and enlightening to hear all of you, and very nice coverage of different topics. So we will move to the next, and please stay on, all of you, if you can, for the next panel discussion, which will be equally interesting.
Asita, I just had one request is in the chat box, there are some questions. So the panelist could be answering them in the chat box if required. I mean, whatever is relevant. Yeah.
Absolutely. Sure. Thank you very much. So I will now invite Mr. Rahul Rahman, who's a director of KPR Consulting. Rahul, I'll do a brief introduction of you and then you can take over and introduce the others. So Rahul, as I said, is heading KPR Consulting, which I guess will be doing a lot of process consulting for chemical and other related industries. He has 14 years of experience in process safety management, not only in India, but also in US, Mexico, Canada, South Korea, China, in oil and gas, petrochemical, pharmaceutical, and other sectors. He holds a dual master's degree from Carnegie Mellon and chemical engineering, for chemical engineering and engineering technology innovation management. And he's also a BTech, Bachelor of Technology from Anna University, India. So Rahul, over to you. Anything else you want to add about yourself? And then please introduce the other panelists and take over from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashitava. That was a wonderful introduction. And I would like to introduce my panel. Just wanted to say that we have a kick-ass panel to talk about the future of EHS. And we have a combined experience of more than 120 plus years. So with that, let me go ahead and introduce the panel. The first off, I would like to introduce Mahesh Chandek. He is head of HSC South Asia and is currently working for the Bayer Group. Mahesh Chandek is a chemical engineer from IIT Bombay and has a master's degree from the University of Cincinnati. He has more than 25 years of experience in sustainability consulting and chemical process industry experience in over 20 countries. He currently is responsible for HSC at Bayer South Asia and is the HSC business partner for Crop Science Asia Pacific. He has been the jury member for several esteemed industry safety awards, co-chair of the CII Western Region Task Force, and he also leads the BCCI subcommittee on safety and part of the Fiji Road Safety Subcommittee. So welcome, Mahesh.
Thank you, Rahul. Thank you.
And our next panel is Sandeep Pichare. He works for Syngenta and is currently the tolling production manager. He brings over 30 plus years of experience in agrochemical industry and in legal compliance. He's a chemical engineering graduate and has a supply professionalism diploma from Warwick, United Kingdom. In his previous role, he has been responsible for execution and engineering projects concerning AI and active ingredients and formulation products. And during this period, he had a global exposure to best practices and standards in Syngenta manufacturing and process risk assessment process. His area of expertise include process risk assessment, operations management and engineering projects, plant commissioning, and capacity ramp up. Welcome, Sandeep.
Thank you. Thanks, Rahul.
Pleasure. Next is Umesh Dhake. He's the regional manager for Asia Pacific and Middle East. He works for Center for Chemical Process Safety, which is a part of the AICHE organization. He brings over 20 years of industry experience in chemical process safety. He joined CCPS in 2012 and is in his present role. And he promotes CCPS's process safety vision and mission in Asia Pacific and in the Middle East region. Umesh is also involved in the technical subcommittees of CCPS, which is a joint industry project. And he's also the member of the technical subcommittee for formulation of draft PNGRB regulations. So welcome, Umesh. Okay, I'm going to move forward. Rajiv Marva is an independent consultant and a veteran in the chemical industry. So he's a graduate engineer from IIT Delhi and is an MBA from the Faculty of Management Studies, Delhi University. He brings over 35 years of experience in the chemical industry, and he had led more than 200 technical and managerial staff and officers. He currently is a freelance consultant working in the areas of environment, safety, energy, and process optimization, and currently associated with the Indian Chemical Council as a team leader for responsible care assessment. Welcome, Rajiv ji.
Thank you very much, Rahul. Thank you.
So as you can see, we have a great panel of speakers, and I'm very excited to ask them questions, but I just want to set the tone and context. The Indian chemical industry is really poised to double in the next 5 years in a recent Business Today article. And the crop protection industry is part of the sustainable growth. And the contribution by the crop protection industry to process safety is valuable. So I want to give a picture of what are some of the advances that were done by the crop protection industry, to look at what are some of the future things that the crop protection industry can bring to EHS. Phosgene is a classic example of a chemical which was used as an intermediate and stored in large quantities. Innovations in chemical process design, engineering design and quick startup and quick shutdown, and inherently safer design concepts resulted in the risks associated with the manufacturing of phosgene, and thereby eliminating the storage of phosgene. So this is a great example of how the inherent safe concepts and other types of process design concepts by the crop protection industry has percolated to the chemical process industry in general. In preparation for this panel discussion, I read the evolution of process safety, current status and future direction by the late Dr. Manan, and it was published in 2016 at the Annual Review of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering. In the late 80s, the chemical process industries made a frog leap change in process safety management. Let's start with the regulation. OSHA promulgated the process safety management of highly hazardous chemical. It's popularly known as the PSM standard. The Canada government came up with responsible care. COMA regulations in the UK were updated. So you can see that in the 80s, a lot of change happened. Closer to home, our regulations in India came up with the MSIHC rules. In terms of academic research, process safety was ramped up. So Mary Kay O'Connor Process Safety Center was developed. Daniel Crowell from University of Michigan Tech University published, the book on loss prevention. And then Frank Lees from University of Sheffield, they published the Lees Loss Prevention in the Process Industry. So again, a very good book. And then there were industry associations. So industries also participated. For example, CCPS, Dyers, the European Process Safety Center, the iChemy Safety Center. There were consensus groups like ASME, API, NFPA, and they all contributed to the process safety from the late 80s. And then these consensus groups, out of which many members were from the crop protection industry. So they participated in these technical associations, and they shared their technical know-how, and a cross-pollination began between industry, regulation, and academics. So that is what really brought about a lot of change. And every possible metric that you see has shown that since the 80s there has been a steady decline in the number of accidents that have occurred. So finally, I just want to conclude by showing some of the major challenges that were talked about by Dr. Manan. One of the first challenges he said is application of risk assessment and land use planning. So what is the future of risk assessment? How can we do a more risk assessment by combining expert judgment? Can we use historical data? Can we use advanced models? Can we use technology to actually predict it? Or can we use a data independent approach and go by first principles? That is by going to more fundamental research. The second one that he had was a chemical incident surveillance system. So, how do we take all of the chemical incidents that are occurring in each company, basically consolidate all of these incidents, and then how do we share this, kind of do trend analysis, do performance measures, how do we disseminate the lessons learned from these incidents. Competency level of practicing engineers. One of the things he felt is how do we go from just not having in-depth courses on specific topics, but also, kind of having more broader concepts. How do we ensure that there is continuous learning for not only just engineers and managers, but also to line managers, board of directors, and administrative staff? Because as you know, EHS is an evolving stream. Technology, keeps evolving. So how do we keep everyone in the organization abreast of these changes? And then finally, investment in fundamental research and engineering. What is the goal of creating these investments is to ensure that we can develop tools, develop advanced research topics, get new materials, try to do prevention and online repair, predictive models, and also address reactive and energetic chemicals, which are part of the crop protection industry. And then, of course, have a market-driven approach for regulation. Something similar to ISO 9001, how that is really a good market-based approach for regulation. So these are the 5 major challenges that were addressed for future. So again, I just want to repeat it. It's application of risk assessment, chemical incident surveillance, competency for practicing engineers and for all employees of the organization, investment in fundamental research, and then risk-based regulation with a market approach. So without any further ado, I would like to begin, asking some of the panelists who have some great experience and would like to get their perspective. So I would like to start up with Sandeep. There have been a lot of incidents that have occurred, and you have a great background in working, implementing standards, and also implementing it across Syngenta. So one of the first questions I thought I can ask is, how do we learn from the accidents that have occurred? And how do we build incident investigation findings and RCA findings to prevent them from occurring again?
Thanks, Rahul, for this question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think since morning I've seen almost every speaker talked about or showed some concern, some or the other concern around the incidents happening in the industry. And this is a very appropriate question. And let me share my thoughts on this out of my experience. Yeah, I mean, the short answer to this question is to fix the root cause of the incident and also implement the appropriate key performance indicator which can be tracked and monitored in future. Now, this is really a short answer. Let me elaborate what I'm trying to say here. The typical incident investigation gives us 3 types of causes. We all know the basic 5I principle will tell you the immediate cause, the underlying cause, and the root cause. And generally what happens after the incident is the immediate causes and the underlying causes are fixed by the company or by the management here. But many times the root cause are not really seen into the depth and the intent and the spirit, because root causes generally are very much hidden deep inside, and getting it on the surface is not that easy. And even if when it comes on the surface, it generally directs the lapses in the management system, the HSE management system. Typically, the root cause is the one which talks about the gaps in the HSE management system. And to fix this gap, it is really what is required is a leadership intervention. And this is the time it is expected that the leaders should take the ownership of this and talk about it. Otherwise, fixing the root cause is not that easy. And because other causes like immediate causes and underlying causes, these are more visible in nature, technical in nature, and gets fixed very easily. So I think let me give you some more background here. When we talk about incident, this incident word itself has a negative connotation. When we talk about incident, people don't want to talk about it openly because that's the most unwanted thing, which when it happens, people, it is the job of a leadership to come, stand up and say that, yes, this should not have happened, but it has happened. And now let us understand and learn from it. So somebody needs to stand up here, and that is actually, it's a senior person should stand up and talk about it. And then because what happens is, if you don't, these incidents are really learning guides. If you don't learn from incident, they are bound to happen again. Incident is, I think everyone understand the philosophy of incident. They are just waiting to happen. As long as the hazard is there in the industry, it is only waiting for the controls to fail. And when the multiple control fails, we have an incident. So this is the first aspect, that yes, the root causes needs to be fixed, and for that the leadership should come in front, own it, and make a plan to implement it. Now, if I look at your question very again in depth, wherein you said that can it be avoided? Can we avoid incident? Now, by fixing the root cause and by having a KPI there, yes, we can reduce the probabilities of things going wrong. But what really happens is, as long as there is a hazard, there is always a potential of things going wrong. And therefore, it is very important that we must make sure that we have a right competent people who understand this. And that is how we can, in my opinion, address it. That's my answer to this.
Thank you so much. Absolutely, having competent people, and also I think the most important thing is acknowledging, the leader should acknowledge it, and then then decide on what the path forward is and ensure that all of the root causes are addressed. Speaking of leadership, as a veteran in the industry, I would like to address this question to Rajiv ji. And since you have been a leader, I want to understand what are some of the pathways for building a world-class chemical industry with top management commitment in EHS. And as you have been a leader yourself, I would like to know what are your views, or what is the way forward for a leader to drive business while also having safe operations?
Thank you, Rahul. Before I answer this question, it's very important to understand what is our first objective, and action of EHS. So the shift has to be decided by the top management. As Mr. Agarwal and Mr. Kapoor pointed out in the first session, and several others spoke about it, the top management is responsible for a cultural change. And this cultural change has to be driven by the top management. The commitment by the top management relates to developing systems and procedures for monitoring the performance and providing opportunities for sustained innovation. Now, walking the way is one of the way of demonstrating the commitment from the top management. Leading by example is the need of the hour. But it does not end here. On a daily basis, the general workforce does not come into contact with the top management. The systems laid down by the management show its commitment. So when we are talking of a cultural change, it's not an easy process. It's a very cultural change is one of the most difficult transformations which has to be led by the top management. So whether it is sustainability or the decision to which products to manufacture, it is the role of the top management which cannot be delegated down the line. Therefore, the most important task of the top management is to develop a systems-driven approach rather than one driven by an individual. More often than not, when the leader changes, the drive for excellence is dependent on the new leader. It either gains higher momentum or it may just fall flat. However, from organizations of repute and what is happening in India was for a trajectory of hockey stick growth. This is not expected. The role of the top management should be to lay down systems which should not be person dependent. The person responsible for driving excellence for safe operations should be a part of the relevant meetings, be a part of the top management review, and should have access to the top management as and when required. This brings in the necessary focus, which then becomes evident throughout the organization, and the entire workforce then begins to follow the system. Having said that, only laying down the systems is not enough. Review mechanisms need to be put into top management. It should be seen as an important activity. Technology can be used of systems. Reporting by exception does not help always. It is not that when an accident happens, the top management gets informed and comes running to the site and asks some questions. Continuous periodical monitoring is the way the management needs to set up its systems. One thing which I have learned during my 35-year career is that what cannot be measured cannot be improved. Therefore, while the management sets up its review process, the need of the hour is to set measurable goals. And with that measurable goals, the top management can review its performance, pull up or appreciate the site management or the people down the line for better performance. This is my view on the role of top management. Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think that was very good. I think, obviously they have to have proper management programs in place, and also, ensure that everybody is participating, and, that is a very robust, active way to manage the risks associated and ensure that they build safe operations. With this as the background, I would like to understand and maybe ask Mahesh this question. There are these management programs and the leaders are doing these activities. But since you are participating in many industry forums, and I would like to know what are some of the key paradigm shifts that are happening in the industry. And what do you see as a success factor of the EHS professional? What do they need to do, and what are those success factors in order to ensure that what is the way forward for EHS?
Thanks, Rahul. And if my audio or video has a issue as I'm speaking, please feel free to interrupt. I think you asked a very valid question, and if I look at the audience on today's call, and if we take a poll, I would assume that a majority of the participants today are HSE or EHS professionals who are tuning in and who might be working in the crop protection or chemical industry. And I feel that as we hear from the earlier speakers, I don't remember the exact numbers, but people are essentially talking, and I think you also spoke of the industry having a potential to double, in the next 5 years or even more than that. And I think that's very much going to happen. And as that happens, there'll be tremendous growth in the industry. Now, what I want to talk is, what does that mean to the HSE professional, and how in that growing sector, an HSE professional positions himself or herself to be successful into the future. As EHS, I think we have seen some kind of metamorphosis, in the last few years, and this pandemic has actually accelerated, this change. What we thought will take 10 years from now, we are now saying, okay, it may happen next year. It has made, our organizations realize the importance of health and safety, the well-being of the employees, the social capital, the human capital that we have, and what is really the impact of health and safety on the business continuity. I think as HSE professional, that's a great opportunity for us as we look into the future. But it's very important to understand what are the key paradigm shifts in the industry. According to me, it's the following. One is, how do we measure our success? That is a very, very fundamental aspect which is going to change, and it is changing as we speak. Historically, when we spoke to management, we have been presenting recordable injury rates, and it is called, different acronyms in different companies. And if you really see a cross section of companies, I'm sure all the participants on the call, over the past few years, we would have seen that our recordable injury rates are actually improving. As per some statistics, more than 80% companies are experiencing improvement in recordable injury rates. That's because of increased investment in HSE. I'm told that budgets in HSE will almost increase by 40% in the next 5 years. We are seeing improving involvement of leaders. I think my fellow panelists are highlighting the importance of it. We are seeing some improvement and essentially better program implementation. So that metric is improving. But are we successful? Are we meeting the expectations of the stakeholders? And I think that the answer is not necessarily a yes, very confident yes. That's because fatalities are continuing to take place. In some survey, it was found that 60% companies have reported a fatality in the past few years, in the 3 years or so. Our statistics and Lalitji can corroborate that whether in India or even in developed countries like US, UK, over the last 5-10 years, the fatality number more or less is steady, whether it is in the factories or even on the road, where we see 3 times the fatalities which happen in factories in India. So this tolerance to fatality is decreasing with the stakeholders in this world which is governed by social media. And so for leaders, whether the fatality happens on site or in the supply chain, whether it happens on the job or off the job, I think those boundaries are getting blurred because of the end-to-end view that they take, the reputation and the deep supply chains that are existing. And hence, we need to focus on it and we need to measure our success based on that. So there is a constant, changing expectation by society, leaders, and I participate in Bob's product supply leadership team in my role as business partner, and my fellow leaders on that team and Bob himself don't necessarily want to know what are the lagging indicators. It is of not much interest to them. What they want to know is transparently what are the ongoing and evolving risks in the business. What are the continual improvement opportunities that are there, and are we tracking those actions to completion? So really, how we measure success is changing. There is an increased focus on severity. I think all organizations have been focusing on it, but really a few can say that it is actually addressing and reducing risk on the ground. And hence integrating safety into business through advanced manufacturing systems, including quality, 5S, daily stand-up meeting. I think Gitali talked of some examples. And especially in this change management, how we reduce the setup time, take care of our assets and autonomous maintenance and so on. All that integration of safety into business becomes very important. I think another paradigm shift is happening in the topic of mental health. I think a lot is getting spoken about it. But really, again, as the tolerance to fatality is reducing in the leaders really want to make sure that there is a holistic care being taken of the employees at work. And though mental health is not really measured, employee engagement is a very important metric, and HSE function has a very important role to play in that, along with HR, and really show that the organization takes care of people. So whether we call ourselves EHS, HSE, or SHE, SHE, I think the H element really is becoming increasingly important. Lastly, I feel digital is a very, very important area where we are seeing big change. Maybe I can come back to that. But all these drivers, whether it is ESG, which earlier panel spoke about, and the whole deep supply chain, I think a lot of shift is happening. And as HSE professional, we need to recognize it and then address it and really use it to our advantage to grow further. Maybe I can talk of that later. Over to you, Rahul.
Thank you, Mahesh. I think that is right. There is almost a blurring of lines between at work and out of work, and then mental health, and of course the adoption of digital technology, which I think is going to be a real challenge to implement, especially if you are having a lot of manual activity going on. Now with that, thank you for that very good perspective and industry perspective. I would like to continue in that, but I want to ask Umesh, who is from CCPS. Just to let you know, CCPS is a organization which publishes guidelines on process safety, and it is one of the leading organizations. So as one of the people in that organization, I want to understand what is the future of process safety and how do the member companies of CCPS perceive it. So over to you, Umesh.
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Umesh, I can hear you.
Okay, so in terms of future of process safety, I would like to quote something CCPS work that we have done. And this work was done around, I think, 10 years back, exactly. So we called it as a joint industry project, Vision 2020. And our objective was to ask our member companies about what they think about process safety, how the process safety will look like, let's say in not too distant future, but let's say in the next 10 years, how it will look like. That was the question. And we also asked a question to our members, how or what are the characteristics of a good process safety? What is the success factor they think is very important for improving process safety in the organization? In all, there were around 65 plus companies participated. It was quite intense discussion. And at that point of time, I just joined CCPS and I had an opportunity to be a part of that discussion. So we came out with two themes in terms of the future of process safety. The first thing is what company themselves need to do, which areas they should or they have focused in past, so they have a good process safety performance. That was the first part of it. But at the same time, the second part of answer of that question was, apart from what we are doing within our industry, we also have to look outside, and we need to involve certain stakeholders who influence the decisions on process safety, who are contributing towards the process safety performance. So by and large, it's not only the industry internally they have to do it, but also they have to involve actively and collaborate actively with external agencies. For example, if you look at organizations like ICC, ACC, or even CCPS, organizations who work towards that, regulators, academia, all those organizations and associations should get involved in improving the process safety. So, so in terms of the future of process safety, there are 5 things industry needs to do, or the 5 areas they need to do in future. That's what we discussed 10 years back, and that still holds good. The first part of that, or the first characteristics of that project, or what came out of that project, is the first thing is you need a culture, but it's not only the culture, you need a committed culture towards not only process safety, but overall HSE. The second thing was you need a management system to manage your process safety, but that management system should be vibrant. So vibrant management system was the second characteristic that company talked about. The third characteristic is adherence to the standard. It's not only the adherence to the standard, but it's the discipline adherence to the standard. That is what most of the companies have talked about. The fourth characteristic is intentional competency development. So you really need to really focus on, or you need to have some intentional efforts to build the competency around process safety. That was the fourth. That is the fourth characteristic the industry talked about, or that's what the opinion of the industry was. And the fifth important thing was enhanced applications and sharing of the lessons learned. And already Mr. Vichari talked about it in quite detail. So these are the 5 industry tenants. At least the survey have come out, or that research have talked about. The 4 societal themes that we talked about is enhanced stakeholders' knowledge, responsible collaboration with various organizations, harmonization of standard, and meticulous verification. So overall, when we asked that question, what is the future of process safety, we understood that we need to do some intense efforts within our own organization. There are some common factors we need to work more on. Technical safety is one part of it, but also we need to look outside. And what we are seeing nowadays, the governments are either improving their regulations, or they are coming up with the new regulations. The associations like ICC, CCPS, ICME, they are coming out with a lot of guidance. So there is a lot of contribution that is happening. Now, this is the first part of the story. The second thing is you also need some benchmarking. Industry needs some benchmarking which should be credible. And I'm going to talk about it in our later discussion. But overall, the future of process safety, you need both internal efforts as well as collaborate with external stakeholders. That's what we are seeing.
Thank you, Umesh. Yes, I think one of the points that you said is vibrant management systems. I think the pandemic has taught us that we have to be more resilient and have that management system. And also, some of the incidents could have been avoided if we had a disciplined adherence to standards. And also, one of the last things you said, sharing of lessons learned. I think that also comes back to Dr. Mandan's theme of chemical incident surveillance. How do we collect this information and disseminate this information to all the companies? Thank you for your answer. And now I would like to move on to Rajiv. I actually want to ask, about process safety information. Some of the things that have happened is, as Umesh said, disciplined adherence to standard. So that type of information is not sometimes available for, MSMEs or even large organizations which have had some incidents in the year. So I want to understand, how do we build a good process safety information program? And in your opinion, how do companies manage this process safety information, leverage technology, and what is the future of process safety information? How is it going to look? How are we going to use that information? Over to you, Rajiv ji.
Thank you, Rahul. Over my tenure in the chemical industry, 35 years of experience, one of the key learning as a responsible care assessor also is that the PSS review, which we put in as a part of our PSM, needs to be strengthened. And if you look at the spate of accidents which have happened in the last 1 year, especially after the lockdown, the restarting of companies that have experienced, I think that leads to the
Rajiv ji, could you pause for a minute?
Down very strongly on paper, but some of them not get translated.
Rajiv ji, could you please pause for a minute? Your voice is a little blurry. I think, can you just check your connection, please?
Okay. Is it better now?
Or maybe you can switch off your video. Maybe then we'll use.
Yeah, you can switch off your video and then proceed, please. Thank you.
Okay. Is it better now?
Yes, it is slightly better. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Rahul. I think just the beginning. My experience over the 35 years program, what I feel is that one of the key elements of PSS, which is PSS, needs to be high.
I request the Fitchy host to maybe mute Rajiv ji. Let us maybe try to work with them. I'll just probably ask the next question and move on. So I just want to go back to Mahesh. You just talked about what the industry has to be doing. But what do you feel are the new areas and maybe even domains where EHS professionals can evolve? What is the future of those EHS professionals? What are those new areas and domains where they need to focus on?
Yeah, I hope I'm clear, and feel free to take action, Rahul, if my connection also goes for a toss.
Sure, it's good.
Yeah, okay. So I think, when we think of HSC professional and we think of competency or domain, we normally tend to think from a technical, point of view, and we want to add different qualification like, ISO certification or, process safety or different technical competency. And I think, yes, that is important to establish your credibility and understand, especially, when we talk of this crop protection sector, we need a certain minimum technical competency. But I think everybody on the call and in the panel are really experts in that, and I really don't want to comment on that. I think that part is well taken care, and there are umpteen opportunities available to develop on those technical competencies. I want to focus, in line with my earlier feedback or thoughts on how the industry will evolve and how things will evolve. I feel there are three fundamental, approaches an HSC professional has to take. One is in the mindset, one is in our approach, and third is in our behavior. So talking about, and I'll explain a bit quickly. So coming to mindset, I think I strongly feel that HSC professional coming from where they come from typically really need to develop on the agility aspect. Normally we are caught up with procedures and standard operating procedure, and conforming to something written in the past is our natural style. Moving into the future, I think the agility will be very important. So we need to be kept informed of what is happening and that too quickly, and how it is happening. Normally, many times we come to know things very late, and that causes issues. The expectations are changing, as we saw. Knowing the business, connecting the dots, keeping ourselves better informed is, I think, very important. And when I say that, I don't just mean what is informed in the company. I think we all need to know what is happening in the industry. What are the trends? Where is the type of manufacturing shifting? What is Industry 4.0? What is digital manufacturing? I think all of it has bearing on HSC, and keeping us ourselves informed is the base. Second is, we always want performance improvement. Normally, organizations undergo transformation, once an incident happens. And what we as HSC people need to really improve is our senses, so that we can sense the small drifts and shifts. Many panelists spoke of culture, etc. We need to be able to tune into that, listen to it, and help the organization do course correction. Because at the end of the day, HSC is a continuous journey, and we need to get better with every mile, and not necessarily whenever there is a positive or negative milestone. So that, I think, that continuous agility is going to be very important. Second, we need to be, along with it comes the importance of being resourceful, because HSC, investment in HSC can't keep going up and up and up without showing the value to the organization. There is going to be a time going to come where we need to direct our HSC resources, whether it is time or money or people, to the right programs, which are important, and not just everything that we have been doing in the past, because budgets will have to be managed more smartly. So for us, being resourceful is going to be very important competency. I think there was a very good discussion on importance of leadership commitment, but leadership commitment is not an external factor. We as HSC professional, as we grow, especially in the organization, we should have the ability to inspire and encourage leadership commitment. And hence, we need to be very aspirational, and we need to be very influential, because that's what leaders like. People who can show them the vision, who can show the value in doing HSC. So it's not just about risk mitigation, it's also about value creation opportunities coming on, specifically with respect to ESG, where impact generation becomes very important rather than just operational excellence. So I think HSC professional can play a very important role. I think green chemistry will lead to green arrows in PNL in future. And I think all these things, if HSC professional can be aspirational, influential, I think it makes a world of difference. Coming to the behavior, I think we naturally tend to become, come from an expertise background, wherein, people come to us for a specific solution and we deliver. But the future, I think, is all about collaborative solution rather than an expert solution. Kind of the challenges we have to resolve, whether it is mental health, whether it is process safety management, I think needs a lot of collaboration. Lalitji talked about, how even external government inspectors are becoming, less of policemen, and we as HSC are sometimes looked as internal policemen. So I think our behavior needs to be less of governance, more of enabling, less of authority, more of leading by influence. And hence, I think this whole collaborative style to better stakeholder manage is going to be very, very important for program implementation. So whether it is health, we will collaborate with HR, whether it is risk reduction, we collaborate with operation, maintenance, production functions, and so on. It will require us to deal with ambiguity because not everything is going to be cast in stone. Things have to be built as we, as we go along. But if you have to take this journey from, compulsion to commitment, which all organizations want to do, I think we really have to grow, develop the collaborative style, align ourselves and our teams with organizational and functional vision and purpose. I think those kind of collaborative behavior will be very important. And last, I would like to end by a message to the organizations and leaders on the call. There is a strong need for talent in and out of HSC. There is a strong need to develop robust capabilities in our HSC team, and hence they need to equip our HSC colleagues with the right leadership development courses which happen in the organization and not keep the HSC out of it, because only then they can contribute more to the organizational aspirations, whether it is around ESG or sustainable development goal. And I think National Safety Council, CLI, FICCI, and other industry associations can also play a role in whenever these forums happen, apart from technical aspects, to really focus on the softer aspects, the competencies, and make sure those also develop, and best practices are shared around that in the industry forums. With that, Rahul, I'll stop. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I really like the way you said that, first of all, we should have a technically competent workforce, which has an agile mindset and course correction, and also showing value creation opportunities to the management. So not only, I think EHS professional are kind of nerds and are very good at technical aspects, but you should be move from technical to techno-commercial aspects so that you can convince and do it. And of course, behavior, so lead by influence. So I really like those points. I would like to actually ask Umesh a question based on what Rajiv ji had said on, you can't improve what you don't measure. I think that's a great insight from him. And that is actually some guidance from CCPS, and maybe Umesh, can you help me understand, how does CCPS identify a PSM program, and how do CCPS member companies interpret their PSM maturity, and how do they measure process safety and EHS performance? You are on mute, Umesh. Could you please unmute yourself?
Yeah, Rahul. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, go ahead.
So in terms of the maturity of the system, and I'm coming mainly from the background of process safety, so I will be talking about process safety maturity systems. And it's not only the CCPS, but there are many good organizations working around how to measure the maturity of your process safety management system. If you look at the maturity itself, we really need to focus on 3 areas when you say a system is mature or not. The first thing is the complexity of the system involved. The second thing is how much uncertainty is involved into the processes. And third thing is the ambiguity. And that's how we manage the risk governance is based on these three important aspects. So complexity, uncertainty, and the ambiguity. And to the best of our knowledge, we try to see what are the risks, how much uncertainty is involved, and you take your call and prepare your strategies based on that. And consciously or subconsciously, every organization is doing it. Whether you have formal systems in place or you don't have. If you are into the business, you do it. Some companies do it, or most of the companies do it very systematically. So if you wanted to measure the maturity of the system, I think you have to focus on these 3 aspects. The way CCPS and most of the chemical industry look at the maturity of PSM is from the perspective of whether I'm giving a reactive response to the situation or I'm taking some proactive approach and trying to build something which is leadership or which is best in class in an organization. So the maturity curve, is defined by many organizations, but I will say it is from a reactive response to aspiring to become best in class. That's how the maturity goes on. But the maturity is not only about organizational maturity when we talk about process safety. Many individuals who are working within a good company, having a good process safety performance, when they look at to themselves or their process safety competency, they might find they are at very initial stages of their maturity. So you have to look at process safety from two perspectives: the individual competencies, and the second is organizational maturity to deal with the situation. And based on that, you have to build your strategy. So it is not important whether you have XYZ system and you have CCPS model or RBPS model, or you're adopting what kind of a model. It is important to understand what is the gap and how I can identify that gap. Identification of those gaps requires, once you have done that exercise, you require some baseline to say, okay, I'm here, and from here I wanted to move to some place in the future. So for that, you require a good baseline. That baseline, probably industry associations or industry itself can build that baseline, and that could be a good, I will say, good direction to the industry. Similar efforts have been done by CCPS, and I mentioned about Vision 2020, but there is another organization, TNO, which talked about the maturity of the process safety culture, and they have a baseline available. I think ACC has certain baseline. So if you are measuring your maturity, if you're trying to see where you stand, and of course you need to do that once you have the baseline, compare with that, and repeatedly go through that process. That will help companies to not only benchmark themselves, but also help them to move towards a good safety performance. From CCPS member company perspective, we have done certain exercises, and this information is available to all industries. It's not only limited to the CCPS members. So it is available for companies to check what others are doing and then benchmark themselves against that. Now, that is one way of doing it. But definitely as an industry, we need to have some common mechanism or at least some guideline which will tell us where we stand. And also we need to develop certain guidelines to do either self-assessment or we need to work on a few, I would say, directions or few guidelines that will give industry a clear picture. So we compare apple to apple, and that's what I mean to say. We need to work collaboratively and develop those baselines and guidelines and the tools. I hope I could able to at least answer your question.
Oh, it was, yeah, I think it was a good answer. And I really, if it is complex, uncertain and ambiguous about your management program on how to address safety, then you have a pretty low maturity. And I think the answer given by you kind of really shows how you can go from that uncertain EHS program to how to advance it. You didn't say it, but I can say it. If you really want to go and understand the the free resource that Umesh was talking about, you can go to the CCPS website and kind of get leading lagging metrics and also the benchmark survey that he was talking about. Now, having said that, talking about uncertainty, we have a huge micro, small, medium enterprise that is, I would say, the nervous system of the chemical process industry, and also, are part of the supply chain of the crop protection industry. And Sandeep, as a person who is part of the tolling, tolling process, I would like to understand your perspective on how do these small-scale industries adopt global process safety practices. So what is your opinion on how do they do this?
Thanks, Rahul, for this question. Am I audible?
Yes.
Am I audible? Yeah. Yeah, I think here the short answer to your question is the MSME should really look for something which is fit for purpose and not really copy and paste any other standard here without compromising the basic EHS principles. And that does not really mean the dilution of standards, but something which is fit for purpose, something which is competitive industry standards should be adopted here, because process safety does exist in MSME. We have seen MSME which are handling large quantity of solvents. They handle active ingredients, intermediates which are thermally unstable. They have many unfavorable safety properties. So process safety does applicable in this kind of operations. So what I can guide here to MSME that they should have a good hazard identification process. They should follow the typical CCPS framework, which is very recently talked about, because this framework really gives us a good direction in which the efforts can be focused. So that is important. But when we are saying that they should MSME should implement the competitive HSE standards, that also means that they should have a competent HSE resource or competent leadership. I'm coming back to the same subject, because otherwise what is applicable and what is not applicable is very difficult to decide, and many times the copy paste approach really doesn't work here. And therefore HSE is a subject which I think going forward we need to simplify it to the next generation instead of complicating it. As we said, I think it's a mix of technical, behavioral, social, economical. I mean, it's a really mix of everything, and we really need to simplify this. And therefore for MSME, many times they are at loss because they work with big companies, and big companies talk about big things. So many times, so I think important here is to simplify this and understand what is fit for purpose, and ensure that there is a competent people, competent leadership in the organization, even though it's a small company. I think that's the crux of the matter. Thanks, Rahul. That is over to you, Rahul.
Thank you so much. We have a lot of questions, but I'm just going to quickly ask you, Sandeep, one question, since you talked about it. What are the basic tools to handle incidents and accidents? What is your recommendation?
Yeah, I think first of all, the investigation, basic incidents. Once the incident takes place, you should have a really good investigation tool. There are many available in the market following the 5I principles, but their incident investigation should get you to the root cause. So that is something one. And the story doesn't end here. It's also important that you communicate that to the people down the line and don't make it as a bookish exercise. Finally, the knowledge has to go on the shop floor. So communication process has to be more elaborate there. And finally, the key performance indicator, because I said already in my earlier question that the incidents are waiting to happen and they're waiting for controls to fail. So something which with some KPI we need to be tracked on the regular basis.
Thank you. I'll just take one more question. This is for Mahesh. How do we manage EHS during the pandemic situation? And it's still continuing. So what is your opinion on how do we handle EHS?
Yeah. So yes, I think it's continuing, and we have all learned a lot, I think, in the last 1.5 years, how to manage the pandemic. I would say one is to set the minimum expectation in terms of how we operate our sites. How do you restrict the access to fit people? How do you adjust the work practices so that there is distancing? How you improve the ventilation, especially in your control rooms where there could be more people sitting around and sharing, electronic gadgets. And fourth is, how you promote the use of masks, which in Indian context, and I will use the 48 degrees from Gitali, is challenging. And so how do you really, give the right breaks to people so that they can continue to work safely and, take care of their health. So there is a lot of adjustments required. And in all this, if I have to say one thing, we really have to trust the sites, that they will do the right thing. Trust the people that they will do the right thing by explaining the concept, because this is not something you can govern. We cannot govern people. Are they wearing masks? Put cameras and, observe them continuously. That's not going to be long term. I think we have to trust people, empower people, and really, but as a company, make sure that whatever can be done to restrict critical activities on site, depending on the state of pandemic. You can, now there are some good tools available, how you can rate the situation of pandemic in your geography, whether it is increasing or decreasing, and accordingly put different levels of control. It's very important to relax the controls when things are better, so that when they go back up because of a subsequent wave, people are more amenable to, oh, now it is more, otherwise if we just mandate double mask all the time, blanket rules or cardinal rules, as we say in HSC all the time, it's not going to work. So I think a very flexible and agile approach is
Yes.
what will help us take us through the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahesh. I have received some message from Ashitawa Sen. So first of all, I would like to thank all of the panelists for your time, your valuable information. It was truly an enriching experience. And, I hope that these takeaways are useful for all of the attendees. And with that, I would like to thank everyone, and over to you, Ashitawa.
Yes, thank you, Rahul, for moderating the session so well. And thanks to all the panelists, Mahesh, Sandeep, Umesh, and Mr. Marwa. Thank you for your valuable contribution and, as usual, passion and energy. I'm sorry, maybe we are a little short of time and couldn't address all the questions, but it is great to see the passion around on this subject. So with this, I will request our last speaker, Mr. Xiangyi Tan, to give the concluding remarks. So Xiangyi Tan is the Executive Director and Head of CropLife Asia, which is the Asian operation of the parent international organization, CropLife International. And in CropLife Asia, he is responsible for directing regulatory affairs, intellectual property rights, crop protection, seeds and biotechnology, and advocacy and outreach across 15 Asian countries. There is CropLife. He had, before CropLife Asia, he had worked in the University of Putra, Malaysia, Simon Army, and HLH Agri-Invest International. He is a Malaysian by birth. He is a citizen and he's done his PhD in molecular biology from the Oklahoma University in Japan. Xiangyi, thank you very much. 5 minutes for you. Thank you very much. 5 minutes for you.
Thank you, Ashitawa, for your kind invitation, and thank you to all the participants for today's webinar as well. CropLife India, Casey Ravi, and Ashitawa and Team Joydip, and thank you again for Federation of Chamber of Commerce, FICCI, for joining organizing today's event. It's a very important event, and safety of manufacturing is more than an interest by our industry, but it's a shared commitment across. We all spoke so much about the whole value chain and where India is really going to lift up in the next couple of years. But one of the fundamental things is, let's take this opportunity to build a safe runway, a firm runway, because as you know, the crop production sector is really fragmented in a sense that our weakest link, the weakest link that we have is the small companies that is supplying part of intermediates that we are producing. And you all spoke at the extent of very internal in terms of the factory manufacturing itself, but our whole value chain is very critical, even after post manufacturing per se. I would like to again take this opportunity to thank Bob Stanton, who has inspired us and led us in building the first meeting in China. One of the fundamental reasons is people post manufacturing stock a lot of waste after manufacturing, and that has created significant problem, both an environmental and safety problem. So I think we really need to take, whether it's on a PSM or PSI, taking on a Kaizen review from time to time and building not only us as the core industry and mover, but the intermediates, your toll manufacturer, would need to be also be strengthened and what you call further strengthened and with the value chain enhanced with leadership discussion with the smaller holder to get hand in hand to bring them up together in order for us to really create a firm runway for the production sector to really ramp up in the next couple of years to the quantum that you all mentioned, third in India, sixth largest in the world for many of these sectors, including crop production. So on behalf of CropLife Asia, I will take great pride in the work of Agrichemical in leading in India, and would like to also congratulate FICCI for the release of the Compendium on COVID Relief Initiative on crop production industry. Speaks to the commitment and its testimonial on the overall impact being achieved by the agro industry in this country. Again, when Modi government stepped in quickly last year to really inject a significant amount comparing to the rest of Asia to really uplift the whole agriculture piece is also something commendable, because I monitor part, for example, Vietnam put in about $1 billion into the post-harvest to bring post-harvest closer to the farmers so that they can help preserve and so that their produce can be moved into the market due to the delay in the whole value chain in a very active manner. Again, we congratulate both the Indian government and our member companies and the whole FICCI fraternity for bringing up this report. I would like to also express my sincere gratitude to Chief Guest, Sri Samir Kumar Biswas, Additional Secretary Chemical, Department of Chemical and Petrochemical, Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers, with the government of India for attending this event despite the hectic schedule. Sir, your thoughts and insights are highly motivating for our industry. Thank you for your leadership. I would like to also thank our esteemed speakers who spent their time, shared experiences and perspective. I know, prior to planning, we spent many hours discussing, how do we make this meeting much more impactful, collectively bringing hundreds of years of experience through your EHS experience and various global perspectives, and with Bob and our BSF colleague bringing the international perspective, coupling with your many years of living in India will definitely help us to further strategize and help the team. So this is not the first discussion. We hope that moving forward, we'll be able to bring much more or better discussion, either face-to-face or hybrid version. So to quickly recap the panel discussion on risk awareness, safety and takeaways and pathways to overcome industrial challenges, brought us a panel discussion on issues related to policy, governance, operational practice, and internal, external environment resources. Again, very crucial as we look not only inwards, but throughout, and how do we help the smaller SMEs. I think this came out very clearly also to raise their standard and to adopt into international practice so that they can continue to be aligned with us and aspire to the whole safety agenda that we are looking at. So in the second panel discussion, potential strategy for way forward. Again, we look at various perspectives in terms of implementation for regulatory, academia, and emphasis on how to motivate everyone to take ownership, putting safety first and incorporating with Internet of Things and various things that we have discussed with different softwares. I think there's tremendous opportunity for us to work with the government. And again, regulatory is not something that we can impose, but the overall behavior change, how they change mindset and putting people first and not P&L. Looking at, I think Mahesh spoke about this very clearly the other day. How do we build for safety from the onset, as opposed to looking at, what are the gaps and what do we need to change? And then again, moving into Kaizen is we continue need to train our team, whether, and again, this was related by the team, is we have such a high turnover with people. We need to continue to have that ingrained in the whole management process. So once again, on behalf of the organization today, I would like to thank all more than 100 participants and the delegates from across India, Asia, and rest of the world who logged in to join this crucial, important discussion. The work and the findings from today will help us comprise the operation, execution, production managed change today, takeaway paper for your future reference. Lastly, I would like to thank CropLife India Secretariat, various member companies, and the FICCI team for making today's session a reality. Wishing you all the best and health, stay safety, and thank you again. Asitawa, back to you.
Thank you, Xiangyi, for the nice.
You're on mute, Asitawa.
Am I visible? Am I audible?
You're on mute.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yep.
I was muted. Yeah, thank you, Shiangi, for the excellent concluding summary and comments. So I think the team CLI and FICCI together, we are planning to issue a summary of the discussion today in the form of a takeaway paper, which we will develop in the next few days and circulate to all the participants along with the FICCI compendium on COVID activities which was launched. And unless there is any parting comment from either FICCI or CLI team, the administrative part, we will close this. Any other comments from anybody? Okay, in that case, we just thank you again for your patient hearing and participation, and all the best, and we'll see you again. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.